Good evening, guys. And I have Mark on the panel already.
If you're not early,
Yeah.
you're late.
We have CR in the house, and Mac Bean dropped in for a minute or two, and he dropped off again. And we have Darren Dobson. Good to see you, brother. And CR.
Don't worry,
So
CR.
that's-
I'm not cooking yet, CR. I will be in a little while, but not yet. You better get some food in you. I got steaks and a baked potato to put on there tonight.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
He was watching me last night. I had sausage, peppers, and onions going at the same time.
Yep. We wait a couple more minutes and see if there will be more people dropping in. And we have Dior's in the house. Good to see you, brother. So, how has your week been, guys? I hope your week has been good, Mark.
Had 2 days off in the middle of the week, so wasn't too bad. 3 out of 5 working. The other 2 just taking care of stuff, and came out here Friday night. I don't normally come out here on a Friday night because it's always dark and just tough to get to. But heck with it. I wanted all day Saturday here, and then I realized my whole cord of split firewood, the whole pile fell over while I was gone for the last 4 weeks. So I'll have to restack that tomorrow.
Yeah. That's a lot of wood to stack back up, but
kind of fell over there.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, Mark made me hungry this week again. Yeah, if you mention a small burger, see or get hungry.
Oh yeah, he hates it when I have my live feed going and at the cabin. I always, because every time somebody does one, it's usually at dinner time, and I always got something on the fire cooking. He's like, I hate you.
Yeah. It seems that we have 10 in the house, so that's nice. And PB should probably pop up soon, I hope. He usually does. Yeah, speaking of PV, he just popped in. Good to see you, PV. I just mentioned you. And there you have the link, PV.
Just don't leave that link up too long. You know what happens there.
Yeah, I know. As soon as he joins, I delete it.
Yeah. Get his email so you can email him the link like you do to me. Do it in the private chat.
Hey, PV, good to see you.
PV.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
Right, how you going? How you doing, everybody?
Mark.
Hey,
Mark.
good to see you.
I'm the mad chick chef tech. Yeah, Mark. That works.
Yeah, how you doing? You out in the you doing a bit of camping there, or?
Yeah, I'm at my yeah. I'll show him again. I'm at my cabin.
All right, good.
And it's 0 Celsius here, so I got a little fire going. For me, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which is way early for a fire. But if I'm going to sit here on a live stream, I'm going to stay warm and not sit inside my cabin.
Yeah, is that wheel rim? Is it you're using? Yeah,
it's a 22-inch big truck wheel I got from a a truck stop. They gave it to me. Had a little bend in it, wouldn't hold air. I'm like, can I have it? They're like, take it.
Yeah. So are you, Shadow?
I'm tired. It has been a tough day today.
Right.
Yeah, I had my belt test today, 10:45 a.m. and today. So
What test?
belt test.
Belt test. What's that all about?
Jiu-jitsu.
Ah, right. Did you moving up, or what's the score?
Hey, Tuck Baby. Yeah, I leveled up.
Look, there it is. Look, back to orange.
Yep.
Nice one. Yeah, so it's good progression, isn't it? So it's better moving up the slope rather than stagnating and stuff like that, learning new skills and stuff.
Yeah.
Was it so? How does it work? Is it just you that was getting assessed, or was there other people moving
There
up with
were
you?
others
Yeah,
at the same level as I am.
yeah, it's good.
We all passed, so that was nice.
Nah. And then move on to the next target. Then eyes on the next one.
Yeah, that will be next year. Green.
Right, yeah. Yep. Good. Then we got here CRs there. Look. Vanessa.
Yeah.
Tuck by V.
Hey, Vanessa. Good to see you, ma'am.
Almost Greenacre.
Yeah, that's Krista.
Mad Chick Acres.
No, I'm not Krista. I'm Mark.
Yeah.
All right. Who's Mad Chick Acres?
That's me.
Oh,
so
right.
Chef Tech is. I have two channels, so I just put them together. The Mad Chick is not an angry woman. It's my mother's name and my father's nickname put together.
Right. No, yeah. I mean, this last couple of weeks, I haven't been. This last 4 months, I've been taking on more stuff, so yeah, I haven't been online at all hardly. Always make time for Saturday night though. And Daryl loves survival.
Yeah.
Costa's there. Shannon's KG Bay Bible readings.
Shannon, good to see you, ma'am.
ADS.
So have you got snow on the ground there, Shadow?
Tsunami.
Have you got snow on the ground there?
Yeah, we got snow. Yeah.
Right. No chance of that here yet. We've had a little dusting a couple of weeks ago. That was it though. It's hovering around the 7 or 8 degree mark Celsius. But...
We got snow here in central PA last week ago.
Yep, right.
Got a bunch. And then there was like a line drawn, and just below that there was nothing. It just rained.
Right.
Hey, Diors.
Hey, Dios. How you doing?
Doing all right.
Hey, Shauna. Good to see you.
I am disappointed to announce that I was unsuccessfully not able to purchase a Barbie Dream Mansion.
Okay.
I am very disappointed. I seen the Barbie Dream Mansion at like 2 different Walmarts. I was going to buy it because I was getting some toys for the Toys for Tots drive. And I was like, oh, man. Like, I'm not a little girl, but boy, I'd sure like to make some little girl happy for Christmas, But I did find some awesome Lego sets, and I actually this dart gun, man. I tell you what, this dart gun is like the coolest thing I'd ever seen. Like when I was a kid, I don't remember dart guns being this advanced. Like this thing's got adjustable sights, and get this, man, they actually put rifling inside the barrel for this foam dart gun. It's like none of my Nerf guns growing up as a kid had rifling. Like, where the heck did all this crap come from?
Yeah. I saw when we was kids, we didn't have any of that sort of stuff. It was all pretty basic stuff, and I was in a store the other day and I saw this like this army set, and it had like chain gun, grenades, and all sorts of stuff. We didn't get any of that sort of stuff. And then so conditioning.
Welcome, Justin Anderson, 2118. You are new here.
Justin
Thanks
Anderson,
for stopping.
how you doing?
Yeah, I was hoping Bob would be here so I could at least, I was hoping Bob would be here and I could like tell him, hey, I bought a Barbie dream mansion. But that didn't,
was he after one? Was he?
I don't know. I
think he wants one though.
I just like to see how that conversation go. You know how he is.
Hey, Slippery Pickle, good to see you.
Slippery
Make
Pickle.
sure if you buy one, you just got to put like model scale barbed wire all the way around it.
Yeah.
And little gun turrets on the roof, and yeah, that would be a fun something to do.
I remember I had friends, high school friends from church, and I guess growing up, like they were, these are two brothers, it was an older brother, it was a younger brother, and they had a middle sister. They had two older sisters, but the two older sisters didn't want to play with the younger sister, so the younger sister was forced to play with the two brothers. Well, I guess the three of them, they would play Barbies, and it ended up being like a soap opera because at some point in time, I guess they mixed the G.I. Joe's guns in the mix, and we ended up going after Barbie with a handgun, evidently.
I think they need to come out with a new Barbie called Bug Out Barbie.
Bug Out Barbie.
That's a good one.
So, PV, what do you think about this topic for today?
G.I. Joe and all the backpacks and stuff. Swap their clothing, put it back in a box, and rename it Bug Out Barbie. Probably sell the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Shadow. So again, was in the middle of talking about Bug Out Barbies.
So what do you say about today's topic? Want to achieve practical self-reliance.
Well, right, yeah, it's a massive subject again.
Yeah, it is.
This is sort of like. Sorry, go on.
First, I had in mind to use practical self-reliance, but when I searched for it, I found a blog with the same title, so I had to change it. So
right,
that's why. So that's why I changed it to want to achieve practical self-reliance instead.
I think I think this is the sort of thing, just the title itself, how to achieve a practical self-reliance and self-sufficiency. That's sort of like the target everyone has in their mind initially, as sort of like, one of the top solutions has been a prepper and off-grid and all this sort of stuff. There's obviously various forms of being prepared and, mitigating disaster and all this sort of stuff. But if you can be as self-sufficient as possible and, self-reliant, then you're not beholden to anyone. Literally, you don't answer to anyone. You can just watch, sit back and stress levels go down, etc., etc. And you're just a self-rolling sort of ball, really. And you create your own environment and carry on as you are and enjoy yourself. But yeah, I think that's definitely the golden solution people think about when they think of sort of self-sufficient. Some people call it, homesteading and all sort of stuff, but there's various levels.
I think you had the key word on your fifth word when you started talking. Target. It's a target to get towards.
Yeah,
you don't go to the store and buy self-reliance. You just don't.
I think it's the the big question is, can it be achieved? In this modern day, everyone's reliant on something in some way, shape, or form. Even if you look back on at various tribes in the Amazon and all these people way out in the middle of nowhere in the jungles and stuff like that, they all eventually have contact with civilization, and you see them, gathering or getting some gasoline and petrol for chainsaws and stuff like this. And then you go into the modern, you move towards a civilized sort of country, quote unquote, and you're then into land management. You're paying rents and taxes and stuff like this on the land you're in, or council tax, or whatever it's called. So in some way, shape, or form, you're in a sort of semi-civilized world, if you like, you're never escaping some sort of control. You're always under some sort of regulation and so on. So I would say in the Western world, America, Europe, and various other places like Australia, for instance, you're never going to be completely away from governance. But
no matter where you go, you're always going to have taxes of one way, shape, or form.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
but you can be self-sufficient. You can be, minimize your reliance on the outside world pretty much 90%-ish.
I was going to say, taxes and governance aside, there's just some things you just can't do as far as like self-reliance. You can't bushcraft your way out of all different problems. At some point in time, you're going to have to rely on going to the store to get a finished product.
Yeah,
Like you can stock up, but like eventually at some point in time, you have stuff stacked to the rafters. Eventually at some point in time, you're going to run out, or whatever it is you have will expire and go bad, and you have to replace. That's assuming stores are still there.
I mean, looking at lifestyle, I think my sort of take on this sort of target is that if you're self-sufficient in your own sort of area and you're self-reliant, then when any sort of disaster kicks off, any sort of SHTF event kicks off, you can just continue. And the sort of differentiation is that it's a basic sort of lifestyle, but you can continue that basic lifestyle as opposed to relying on modern technology, modern lifestyle, modern communities, and then you just hit a brick wall when some sort of massive event kicks off, and then you're back to whatever. But yeah, I mean, things like right. So how do you achieve it would be the next question, I suppose. So you obviously got to get your own plot of land to live. Pick your location. Location's everything. How do you live on that land? Is it going to be a caravan? You're going to plonk a boat on that land, or you're going to live at sea? Is it going to be yours? If you own that property, you own that land, then all the well and good. That reduces your reliance on rent, landlords, mortgages, etc., etc. So once all that's ticked in the box and paid for, I mean, people can inherit the property or the land as well. Then you're sort of whittling your responsibilities down. Then, so you got to look at the basics. So rule out the basics. So water, food, power, security. Then focus on those big areas. Then you're quite a long way into being off grid for a start off. So water, if anyone's wrecking their own place, have you got a stream, have you got a river, lake, pond, you're going to do some sort of rain collection system, harvest rainwater, or you're going to have a well or a borehole. I mean, this sort of thing, if you're starting from scratch and you haven't inherited anything, it's a massive task, this, because you're literally creating your own little empire from nothing, and you're recreating every amenity that modern day civilization gives you at the moment that people take for granted. You can't just, I mean, we've got a boat and we lived on the boat for 10 plus years, and everything revolves around the water. So you turn the water on and you're literally just use it drop by drop, because when that tank's gone, it's gone. You got to fill up water somewhere. So there's little things that you take for granted that you don't take for granted anymore when you are making it, drilling it, extracting it.
Not only that, you have to dump the gray water and the black water too. Well,
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't. You probably use a chemical toilet on your boat. You probably don't have a black tank.
Yeah, well, we got a chemical toilet, but well, there's three systems on that. You can have a chemical toilet, you can have a holding tank for pump out, or you can have a composting toilet.
Yeah, I just remember my time in the Navy, I just remember when they, so we called it sanitaries, the sands line.
Right.
I just remember they said that, when we discharge sands at sea, we're not allowed to discharge within 12 nautical miles of, waters, nearby, country. You got to be out in what is called international waters to discharge.
Right. So, I mean, then you'd have to, I take it there's some sort of method of separating sort of toilet paper and other stuff.
Oh no! Like on the submarine, all that went down the same sewage system.
Oh, okay, right.
None of that got separated. That was all same. Yeah, like I said, the sanitary tank, it was all the same. It didn't matter. It didn't matter if it was shower water, if it was water from the galley.
Right. So that would go to a holding tank and then get
discharged. Yeah. The biggest issue, at least from, like I said, I know we're getting a little way off topic here, but at least with the submarine, the issue of discharging waste of any kind, whether it be physical trash, because yes, we actually would shoot, trash through the what they call it, the trash disposal unit. We compact this trash down to basically, I guess you could say, kind of like little torpedoes or whatever, and launch from the bottom of the sub. But the whole issue with getting rid of trash and discharging sanitary lines is that, or discharging a little bit of oil into the sea, is that you can accidentally give away your position to any enemy vessels or any enemy aircraft that's tracking for submarines. But like I said, that's a whole nother topic. Sorry, I got way off base there.
Well, no, because these same sorts of you're in a sub or whatever, you're in a self-contained area, and all these things apply. Your water, food, power, security, waste, etc. It gets disposed of and processed and made in a different sort of way. That's all, isn't it?
Yeah, so, I guess the only thing I could say with the submarines, so we had our own oxygen plant. We made our own oxygen, and we had our own desalinization plant. So we could make unlimited quantities of fresh water, presuming the equipment broke. Basically, with a nuclear submarine, you can be at sea indefinitely. The only limitation is food and crew morale, and equipment getting regular scheduled maintenance. That's about it.
Yeah.
Submarines are like the ultimate in self-sufficiency, because you got teamwork, you got everything. You have to have everything, and if you miss one thing or something goes wrong, you're not self-sufficient anymore. Now you're going to be reliant upon the cargo ship or the dry dock
resupply.
or something.
They did resupply ships. They got resupply ships or resupply at sea. Now, while I was on, we never did. We just resupplied in port, but still,
Yeah. Well, so if people they got to scope all these things out, and if they get the basics ticked off, they're sort of halfway there already, aren't they? So get your plot of land, find a sort of whatever form of shelter they're going to be living on, whether it's caravan, fifth wheeler, mobile home, house, shepherd's hut, whatever it is.
That was my goal when I bought this property. I got 15 acres. I got my back property line is a stream. It's not, I mean, it gets big in the seasonal runoff, but it's always got water in it. And I got trees. I got 4 acres that are almost open. They used to be open. I've been pulling down the dumb little bushes and trees that popped up. So I'll be able to grow. We're going to build out here. My little cabin, I mean, I'm on solar here. I got solar. I have 2 solar systems, one for backup, and then I have a generator just in case everything else fails. And if all else fails, I could always hook up to my truck and take power out of that. But out here, I could literally, if something happened, I could come out here. I got enough food out here to sustain me for probably a week or so, or maybe more. Freeze dried stuff that I make.
Yeah, I mean, water and food are big considerations. Yeah, if you've got a stream or look good, if you're a river and stuff like that. Otherwise, you're down to sort of rain collection, or some sort of borehole or well. I've known people to get water delivered to their location.
Yep.
You know,
Hey, Teresa, good to see you, man.
but you're not self-sufficient then, and then you got to consider food. So a big enough plot of land to grow enough food.
Shadow, you remember that one guy that was hassling Bob last year that claimed that he was ex-special forces and he lived out in
I remember
the deserts of Arizona. Yeah, he said he had his water trucked in. Yeah, that's the only thing I'm going to say about that. Is like you said, he had his water trucked in.
Right. Yeah. So I think if people are looking at this sort of thing, then the location, not in terms of geographical, but how the land lies is key if you're trying to grow things as well. You've got to get the right, test your soil, determine what the pH level is. Is it windward? If is it constantly in prevailing wind? Is it on the south facing slope, north facing slope, etc., etc.? They all
and
contribute
what growth
to
zone you are in.
Yeah, is it low lying? Is it in a dip? So is it going to be potential for frost and all this sort of stuff, pests and all sorts of stuff like that. So it can be a bit of a nightmare. I'm not really into scoping land out for crop growing, but I should imagine those are the types of things you would initially look at anyway. And if it's a proven plot already, then all the well and good because someone else has done the work for you already. So I mean that's just plants. So people may want to have plants and meat. So chickens as a start off as a baseline, for instance. You got the meat and the eggs. Some people say rabbits because they're quick growing and in a disaster sort of a scenario that it's a good turnover of meat.
Rabbits on their own's not good though. You don't do rabbits for so long, and then you can die what's called a rabbit starvation.
Rabbit starvation,
meat. Now I'm not sure what would happen if you deep fat fried the rabbit. I'm not sure if that would reverse that, but
where you going to get the fat
fried
from?
rabbit is good.
Well, it's things like that simple question there. Where are you going to get the fat from? So you got
you need beef tallow. You need cows or pigs or something to get the fat from.
Yeah, and if you're working up towards sort of the bigger livestock, pigs, sheep, cattle, that's pretty intense. The skill set someone's got to have to be self-sufficient on a homestead sort of plot is massive because you are literally doing everything. From slaughter, hygiene side of it, processing it, cooking it, etc., etc. And then you don't want to waste. Nothing's going to go to waste. So you've got to think about what you're going to do with the rest of the stuff that's not. You're not going to eat. You're going to make soap out of it. You're going to process it for the hides and all that sort of stuff, tendons and whatever. So I mean, food. But it's not possible. Loads of people do it, and it's been done before. Even in Britain, there was a guy who buggered off out into the wilderness. He lived in the woods for 40 years on his own, built his own cabin and stuff like that before the authorities got to find out about it and start to put the thumb screws on him. I don't know what happened to him though. But wherever you are, the more self-sufficient you are, someone always wants to poke their nose in and sort of disrupt you. And why aren't you paying this? Why aren't you paying that sort of thing? Alaska's a good place to drop off. But that's a hard life as well, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
It's not for the faint-hearted. This sort of stuff. You are literally doing everything, and if it's just two of you or a family of four, then it's still no easy feat. At some point, you're going to start to grow old. People got to think about that sort of thing. At what point do you say, I might be getting a bit too old for this, or I'm going to die in this property, or should I move back to civilization, have a nice, comfy life for the rest of my years, sort of thing. But
the bad thing is when you are so far removed from society, it is really difficult, well, pretty much impossible to call for help, if you're too far. Let's just say you're one of those people that live just out in the rural areas, remote sticks, You're looking at what, 20 minutes at minimum, maybe an hour until emergency services can get to you, and that's just like somebody needs like an ambulance or something along those lines. Police, could take upwards of 2 hours for the police to get around.
Yeah.
But I'm not dissuading anybody. I'm just saying that's things to consider.
Well, no, that's right. Even if the police do turn up eventually, I mean, there's many parts of Britain that if an ambulance does come out to you, my last location, I was 30 minutes away from an ambulance.
Yeah, you were saying something along the lines of if they got you on the phone, they ask you the question, are they breathing? And if you say yes, it's going to take much longer for them to get out there. Yeah.
The first question, without asking you anything, as soon as they pick up the phone, is the patient still breathing, or is the patient breathing? If you say yes, your priority goes right down, and you can say 4 hours plus.
Yeah, if you say no, they just send the meat wagon because they're already dead.
Yeah,
anybody.
If I say no, the target time is 8 minutes here. Which, but Britain's quite, well populated and et cetera. But
and if they get there and they find out that he'd been breathing the whole time, we'll just say, "Oh, he just started breathing. I just resuscitated."
Oh, he seems to be okay now.
Yeah, I've been doing mouth to mouth for 20 minutes.
But you're right. I mean, all this sort of thing's all well and good until you need some sort of medical intervention, and if you haven't got the skills or the equipment, which many people won't have anyway, because not everyone can be a doctor or an advanced nurse practitioner or this sort of stuff, then what's the alternative? You've got to literally pick up the phone and ask for an ambulance and stuff. But if your target is to achieve this sort of lifestyle in case of SHTF, then I would have thought that people wanting that sort of lifestyle would have got relevant sort of medical training and some sort of equipment to deal with various injuries. But
and just for the record, the stuff that we are discussing, this is mostly applicable to those who are able-bodied and they're not disabled in any way, shape, or form, or they don't have mobility issues, or they don't have some sort of specialized medical need where they've got to be so close to a hospital or clinic, or have regular access. Some of the stuff we're talking about, you pretty much have to be tip-top physical condition, or like I said, not have any major outlying health concerns.
So Hugo Homestead says Monty Python, he's not dead yet.
He's not dead yet.
He soon will be if you don't arrive in 8 minutes, sort of thing. But yeah, what you just said there, George.
Pickle has a comment here. Get a copy of the St. John's First Aid book. Never heard of.
Yeah.
In the Florence Nightingale Nurses Handbook. Florence Nightingale's. Yes. I have heard about, but not a nurse book.
Oh, she was the first nurse. Yeah.
Okay.
St. John Ambulance is it's like a voluntary first aid facility in Britain. It's they go to many shows and events and stuff like this, and they provide a free immediate medical aid treatment package sort of thing. But so first aid and this sort of stuff, you're looking into the area of additional skills and stuff like that. You're not always going to be injured and stuff like this. It's a contingency skill, but you're more likely to be injured at some point, especially in the nature of the work. And given the nature of sort of small holding, crofting, sort of homesteading, farming type work on a smaller scale, then it is going to be manual, hard work, and it's going to over the longer term period you're going to need to be fit, fully functional and strong, unless you've got the aid of you can always have, and this is another factor to go into, some sort of machinery to aid you, like a tractor or a rotavator or some sort of machine. But then you're cutting down your self-sufficiency sphere. Then so you're going to open up yourself to the need for gasoline, petrol, diesel, etc., etc. So what do you have? you got your nice little cabin or house that you may have built yourself because you don't want to rely on anyone else helping you, or you might as well you might have bought a pre-made jobby or whatever it is. Heating it, solid fuel stove, wood burner. If you've got plenty of trees around to process and stuff like that, then all well and good. But you're going to need some sort of heat. Or if you're in a hot climate area, then you're going to need some sort of cooling system as well.
Well, you need heat to cook on anyway, even if.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're going to need something to cook with.
Yeah, that book Kaylee and I have.
There's supposed
it's a good one.
There's supposed to be a medical handbook out there. I don't remember what the hell they call it. I don't know if it's like
hang on,
the lights go out or when medical is not around or something like. I don't know.
Sorry, medical handbook.
Yeah, like I said, there's supposed to be a medical handbook that's specifically designed to instruct somebody how to do advanced, like very advanced first aid, and it's written in such a way that it's to imply that the lights go out, they're not coming back on, or there
is a few
emergency.
There's a few of those. There's the famous ones that people may know about. Where there is no doctor. That's one of them. There's one specifically designed for the modern day area by the Doom and Bloom channel. Dr. Bones and Nurse Amy. He's a obstetrician doctor who specializes now in off-grid disaster medicine, and his wife is AINP. They've got a really good book, and I've got 2 iterations of those.
Yeah, when there's no doctor and dentist, yeah,
where there is no doctor and where there is no dentist is the dental version as well. Yeah, they're good to have. But yeah, it's always good to have 2 or 3 sources of reference. I would recommend the Dr. Bones and Nurse Amy one by Dr. Joe Alton.
Yeah,
that is specifically that right. Yeah, they're definitely good ones to have.
Yeah, that is a really good book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
sorry.
No, go on.
I was saying, aside from the Boy Scouts handbook, I don't think I've got any like advanced medical texts around.
Yeah, and you can people can elaborate. They can get there's books that cover all sorts. There's
I am first aid and CPR certified at least until January of next year, or this coming year.
Right.
And then my certifications expire and I'll have to do them all over again.
Yeah, you're probably looking at a range of minor injuries in the sort of the homesteading way of life.
Yeah.
That people wouldn't normally experience on a day-to-day basis, and are probably more likely to develop into something more serious.
Yeah. Now I am going to bring up something. It does kind of follow what you just got done saying about the medical, but it also ties in what you're talking about previously. Having these gasoline powered tools, they do make life easier. Like I said, there's a little bit of trade off on everything. So how like right now, at least in Western society, mainly in in the United States, and I'm sure probably Canada too. We got an obesity problem. A lot of people are overweight, severely overweight, and it's because of the sedentary lifestyle. But this stuff will kind of help with that, alleviate that too. But at the same time, at some point in time, you can't keep pushing your body when you get rid of some of the conveniences, the modern conveniences, as far as like tools are concerned. You're gonna beat your body up, and you can get to a point where you could like theoretically shorten your lifespan because you're abusing yourself too much. Because I'm not sure what the average age the average male was back in the 1800s here in the U.S. Like especially during the Great Rush of the West. But I don't think if I had to take a guess, I don't think it was above 50 or 60 years, and that's because everybody worked the manual job, and some cases to the detriment of their own health.
Well, yeah, it's what I was sort of indicating at. I mean, well, back then they also didn't have the sanitary knowledge that we have now, I suppose,
or the medical knowledge,
advancements of knowledge, yeah. But also, we've now got the miracle of antibiotics and vaccines. Should I dare use that word?
Let's not go there.
But yeah. So the lifestyle outdoors isn't an easy one, and you're not going to be. There's going to be far less time to sit back and enjoy yourselves. You're going to be out doing things all the time, and because there's always jobs to do, repairing jobs, looking at crops, animals, etc., etc. But the injuries, like I said, you were more likely to encounter will probably be things like little cuts and nicks on your fingers, burns, all this sort of, small stuff that could escalate into something bigger. And how do you deal with that?
Kind of goes back to the whole bug out thing, that people keep talking about. And like, so I will beat this myth into the ground until the day I die. But, what do? You're out there bugging out in the woods like everybody, tells you to do, and you get a mechanical injury, even if it's just a simple mechanical injury, like, I don't know, like you said, you cut yourself or something like that. Or my favorite one is like, you twisted your ankle. Now what are you going to do?
Yeah, sprain your ankle. Now you can't even move, and you got to sit there for a week waiting for it to heal up so you can at least put weight back on it and then get back to all the things you couldn't do for the last week or so.
I think bugging out is only feasible if you're
if you got a place to go to.
Stop using the word bugging out. I'd use the word evacuation.
Yes.
To a specific location that you've thought about and pre-planned. Otherwise you are literally slowly dying if you're just heading out into the woods and stuff. And how long that process takes is a different story. But so I would recommend I'd recommend get the generalized books, like the disaster medicine stuff, where there is no doctor and dentist and stuff like this. But I'd also look at getting in. People look at getting into things like wound management and all this sort of stuff.
There's a lot of books on natural remedies and stuff too for infections and that. Not really for a broken bone, but I mean
that's right.
The earth has a lot of stuff on it that we can use that we used to always use, and now we don't anymore. Yeah.
And again, the viability of some of those treatments is up in the air. Pretty questionable to me. And I think we rely on the fact that all these sort of miracle cures, as I say, like antibiotics, painkillers, etc., you take them and you expect instant results, and it's not going to be sort of that sort of mentality when you're talking about the homeopathy type of alternative medicine route. So, but I mean, going back to the basics of food, where do how does someone achieve that? So they've got to have a sizable plot of land, sufficient enough to, I mean, all these things, water, food, power, etc. If it's not sustainable, then it's not going to last forever. So people have got to make sure whatever the method they employ is sustainable, so it can be rotated and cycled through constantly, just like your power, collection, storage. If it's wind and solar, fuel for fire, warmth and cooking, fine. If you've got a good source of trees and stuff or peat, then all well and good. So location, recce, and ticks in the boxes have all got to be thought about. And then community as well. If you're going to be in the middle of nowhere out on your own, because if you are, you might be self-sufficient as a unit on your own little homestead or farm or anything. But if it's not very good in safety in numbers in that sort of respect. And I would look back at the South African model. South African farmers getting attacked and so on.
I know some of the South African farmers there.
Hey, dear love. Good to see you, brother.
Good evening, all.
Hey, Daryl.
Hey, my friend TV. Shadow. Yours.
Good to see you.
Mark. You can call me Mark. It's easier.
Mark. Mark, is that Mark on Dior's channel?
No, I'm on. I'm Chef Tech.
Chef Tech. Okay, right, Mark.
Yeah.
One with the fire.
Yeah, the one with the fire.
Nice.
That's
Bushcraft TV. Yeah.
I'm practicing my warmth skills. It's only it's 2:45 in the afternoon. It's too early to cook now.
Shortest day of the year next week.
You could maybe get a head start on dinner, maybe.
Oh, I've already got my steak and potato ready to go, but
get it on there. Let's see some bit of cooking there. Go.
Yeah.
I did that to CR last night on Gil's channel. I had sausage, peppers, and onions cooking on the grill the whole time, and he's like, and then I'm making sandwiches and eating that, and he's like, "Come on, man, I'm hungry."
Huga, I have not seen any drones. I've heard them talk. I've heard people talking about it. I've heard John at the Prepared Mind channel talking about it, but I haven't seen it. I've heard them talking about it in regards to the UAPs. I guess is now what they're calling them now.
Yeah. Apparently, one went down last night in Morris County, New Jersey, on the highway because people were driving across the bridge and videoing it, and it was like a 8-foot long. Guess it was unmanned, and it was just laying across the median strip, and cops had everything shut down. There's a bunch of short TikTok videos on that. I caught a couple of them on one of the channels I was watching, and it's a drone. And why does it have red and green blinking lights? Because that's the law in the country. Oh, that's right. They must be ours.
Yep.
It digs outdoors, I doing. So if I was to think about this sort of self-sufficiency plot or lifestyle, I would say, own land, own building, you own it outright. That's big tick in the box straight away. A source of water, excellent. If you got a means of pumping that source of water into your faucets, your taps, or whatever, all well and better. Food, a good sized plot of land, sort of, I don't know, bare minimum tennis court size, with some chickens for eggs and meat. I'm talking about my minimum sort of solution. Power.
Quick question, since we're on top real quick, water. What's the rule? Because I know things are gonna be a little bit different for, I guess, 3 of you all on the panel. But what's the rules for having a well on your property if you live out in the country? Are you required to be on municipal city water?
Right. Here in Britain, the marina my boat is currently in is all sourced from a well. In fact, it's a borehole. And you pay for it yourself to be done. You have to have a survey to ensure that it's feasible, drinkable water, or there's no sort of nasties in there. Yeah. And then that's it. Crack on.
Nothing.
You're not beholden to the water board or anyone like that, because all the water boards over here, or the water companies, are all privately owned. They are regulated to a certain extent for cleanliness, etc. But
there are some areas in the U.S. where drilling your own well is strictly forbidden, but that's mostly in areas where they've got,
right.
They're water rationing, or water is really difficult to come by.
Yeah. Now I got my area. You can't put a well if you're on city water and you want to put a well in. They will put a meter on it.
Right.
Really?
Suppose in certain countries, if whatever your property sits on, the land underneath the surface is different rules and regulations.
Yeah.
I think like they got like what they call mineral rights or something along those lines. You got to make sure
Yeah,
You don't just
I'm not
own the
sure.
land, you own the mineral rights underneath.
Yeah. So
and water rights.
As soon as you go subsurface, different set of rules. I'm not sure what it is over here. I think it might even be it's your own land subsurface, but don't quote me on that. But
yeah,
if you're providing water for somebody else, I mean, let's say someone's got a self-contained campsite or caravan site in the middle of nowhere that they're planning to, convert into a self-sufficiency area in SHTF. When they put the water provision in, whether it's a borehole or a well, because you're providing it for someone else during peacetime, different rules and regulations there because you're responsible for the safety of those, the quality of the water that you're providing for those people, your customers, and so on. But
yeah, it kind of goes up.
But I mean, Berkey as bare minimum sort of measure.
Yeah, those Berkeys are really good, but they are expensive.
Yeah, I got a Alexa Pure.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I got Alexa Pure.
Yep, that's right.
It actually rates way better than the Berkey.
Yeah,
it's cheaper.
I've got a travel Berkey on the boat, and I've got an Imperial Berkey here.
I've also got some of the Sawyer water filters.
Yeah.
But I guess the new one that's the rage is the Catadine.
Catadine filters, they're probably one of the top rated filters out there. But I mean, people look at the bulk, processing water in bulk. So I mean, things like a Berkey and stuff like that. You've got a big reservoir of water you fill up, and it gradually does it overnight, etc. I wouldn't go any smaller than that sort of system, really, because it's manual labor, quite hard work.
Hey, Nubs.
Yeah, you're only going to get with decent water that was filtered out with sediment. You're only going to get, I think, like a quart or a liter per hour or something. It's very slow. It does a great job, but it's very slow.
Yeah, it's just not feasible if you're living there in that property. You're not going to be pumping a little hand pump or doing some sort of manual gravity fed work with that. It's just not feasible. It doesn't make sense because you got to make the systems work for you passively.
If I may put my 2 cents in on that, have any of you ever researched a Trompy pump? TROUMP?
No, can't say.
Is that the one that runs off of water
it.
pressure coming down a hill? Yeah, I've looked into that.
Coming out of vertical
here to run one.
No, you don't need elevation. You need a hole. You need to be able to dig a hole,
right,
and support that hole from caving in on you. And in a small scale situation, I would say 50-gallon drums would allow you to dig approximately 3-foot hole for exactly what you need and support the material from caving in on you if done correctly.
How does the pump work?
The pump works based off of the drop of water collecting air. And then for every 2 foot of elevation that you drop, you gain 1 bar of pressure.
I have to look into that. Sounds interesting.
So you build a small structure that's 15 feet tall with a reservoir of water, and then you go 15 feet down into the ground, and you have a 30-foot drop. That's 15 bars of pressure.
Right.
15 bars of pressure can be used.
Use that to get the water out of the well without having to put water in a bucket above it.
That's where the airlift comes in, because water will raise just as much. It raises in the inverse of it dropping. So as it drops, it gains pressure. As it raises, it loses pressure, but it pushes water.
Right, I see. So if you got a 30-foot elevation above the ground, 30-foot below, you're going to get 30 foot of
30 bars.
Yeah, right.
And you can use the water itself as a power generator, and you can also use the air itself after you utilize it in your system to then collect back in and run other, I would say, vortexual, kind of like a turbo on a truck.
Yep.
The same concept.
So what's the name of that again? So
It's a Trump.
Could you just type it in the comments for people to scope out? And then at the end of it, you've got to filter it, obviously.
Well, no, you would put it into a loop.
So how
it would be its own. That would be power generation, not so much for water quality. I mean, you could use the water, I guess, but if you use your power source, then you don't have any more power source. And generating that pressure is what you're looking to do, and you use the water. If you ran it through a channel or a canal, you could create head pressure off of the inlet, and you could run a turbo or a generator off of that. So you're creating power with the water as well as creating power with the air that's created. So you could actually build a system and tie that system to the grid and create a revenue stream, no pun intended.
How do you spell it again?
I put it down in the private chat.
Oh, I'd have to go off this thing here. Was it TRAUMP?
TROUMP.
OUMP. OUMP. I'm doing it on my phone right now.
And the other attribute to this that I would definitely, if you're looking to go off grid of any kind, researching Victor Scheldenberg would.
Yeah, you're the one who talked about that. Was it last year you were talking about him?
I'm going to the point where I've ripped my truck apart to create an air system that will create power as I'm traveling down the road. Not to mention it will reduce the envelope from about 8 foot to about 2 foot, and allowing my truck to slip through and collect that power as opposed to pushing against it.
Right, it's TROMPE comes up through various Wikipedia stuff and stuff like that.
Yep, Trompy pump. And when I'm saying like I'm putting this truck together, I'm not just BSing. Hang on one second.
I had never heard about that kind of pump before, so that's interesting.
Oh, there we go. Found a picture of it.
People probably know it through different names and stuff like that.
Yeah, probably.
For any of you guys that run or do truck stuff, you'll know.
It looks like a turbo.
So what we're looking at there then?
The turbo.
That is a beautiful turbo that I'm going to use, and that's what I'm going to power with all that air that's coming in. So that means it's cold, and it doesn't need to be cooled. So there goes your intercooler. There goes your need for a heat reducer or an oil cooler for your turbo system. And basically my thought is bring it in, run it through a compressor, make power from it, and then run that turbo air right into my truck motor. Like I said, if you guys are looking to go off grid in any capacity, research the shit out of Victor Scheldenberg. Remember, the dome is your best friend. You guys were talking about what do you do in a health crisis? There are so many herbs. I haven't been to a doctor in years. And when I did chop my fingertip off, I went to the doctor because it was work related. And I told them to sign the release. I'll be fine. I walked out of there, and 2 days later, I was building boulder walls with 24 to 48 inch boulders. Like, I do this shit for a living, and it's hard. It's grueling. But if you have a general understanding of plants and health and wellness, which you can easily procure on YouTube, you're good. Like, you know what plants to get to do different things. Like, I put down in the chat, plantain or white man's footprint. That shit is all over the United States. And I'll put it this way. When I got the big situation that happened a couple of years back and everybody got sniffles, I took 3 glasses of plantain tea and I was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the sort of thing people should be scoping out as well. Is adding to the plate, bolstering up your food and income with foraging.
Hey,
getting to know what's in your area and so on.
Shadow, I'm going to post the link for the Victor Schallenberger YouTube video. It's like I said, it's like an hour and 13-minute long video, or no, hour and 15-minute long video.
Schallenberg.
Yeah.
Right.
As far as filtration of water, the Vortex does a lot for filtration. I have it implemented into my fish tanks, and it keeps that water quite clean.
So where does water come from to begin with? Do you harvest it from rain or a river, or where it?
There's multiple sources that you can get it. You can bring it in. You can get it from rain. You can get it from rivers. I mean, obviously, depends on your land and what you have available. Sometimes getting water might be a trip a week with a 50-gallon drum on the back of your fucking truck. Like, shit happens, man. And then you just run a 12-volt battery and you start that power. Once you have power on land, you're not set, because you still need to dry in and everything like that. But drying in is not. I mean, we have all sorts of different materials that we did not have in the 1800s when this land, or at least when the Americas, was being gone across.
Yeah.
Probably same as down in, like Australia, and I know for sure different in Europe. Like, utilize the old methods with the new material. Holy shit. Monolithic domes become really fucking easy when you...
Guardian.
Please try to keep the swearing down.
Oh, my apologies. I have a mouth like a sailor and a work ethic like a man, too.
Hey, Guardian, how you doing? Yeah, so water, I mean, key
Guardian, good
resource.
to see you.
Guardian.
That's one of the key things people should be looking into when they're looking at this sort of stuff, into a self-sufficiency, self-reliance sort of method. But it doesn't, SHTF and all this sort of stuff isn't going to happen. It might not happen, all this sort of thing. So you got to look out for a continual source of income, unless you're completely off-grid and self-sufficient and sustainable. And not many of us are, and it could be quite unachievable for many. So, don't discount people out there the financial aspect of being self-sufficient as well. Because I'm not extending it just sort of to the homestead lifestyle. You could be in a flat and an urban environment, etc. Being self-sufficient financially is a good thing, a key thing to have. And if you've got some sort of skill, if you're an expert in some sort of area and you can make things with abundant resources, then you could be on a good path to being self-sufficient financially as well. So the financial aspect isn't to be sort of sniffed at. And many of us wish we were, financially self-sustainable and non-reliant on any sort of other means.
But we have to do what we can with the means we have.
We need to go. We need to go to Rothschilds and get some of that money back.
I would say that reassessing what your value is on a constant basis and cutting out the fat, for lack of better terms, would probably be the best. Because if you're self-sufficient, that means that you can't carry too much. And you know, with that being said, like that Trompy pump could definitely tie to the grid. You could buy a Tesla charger and be the only Tesla charger in the middle of fucking nowhere, or excuse me, the middle of nowhere. Like, I'm just saying, like, there's opportunity that if we look at what we have, like, for instance, if we have land and we have a flowing water source, then you don't even need the Trompy pump. Just put floaters out there and collect the energy.
Yeah.
And if it's about a code or a policy, you know, I guess my question is where's the contract that I signed that says that I'll adhere to said policy? Because policies are for companies.
It's a big mistake people make is trying to over-engineer things just in case. And you know, I can attest to this with all my systems on my boat. That you just, I see people building their own boats, and there's a guy next to me in my last marina who built his own boat, and he was trying to replicate, you know, living in a proper house and stuff like this. And the systems are so complicated. And you know, one system broke down, and then he was having, you know, underfloor heating in the boat. Yeah, you know, it's feasibly good, but you know, and it's comfortable, etc. But it's another factor to think about, and it adds extra resources because it relies on extra diesel and extra filters and this sort of thing. So, a key thing, what I'm saying is, a key thing for people to think about out there if they're trying to establish some sort of self-sufficiency lifestyle, or to minimize the reliance on everything else, is not to over-engineer things, the systems you're putting in place. Keep it simple, and you'll be thankful for it later on, because A, they don't require spares, B, they're easy to fix, and the problem solving will be a lot, you know, easier as well. And
you know, your guys in-floor heat, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. In-floor heat is not a difficult thing to do if it's done right.
Easy, yeah.
Because he could have sat there and simply put one of those little drip diesel systems that takes a gallon for 18 hours, and then ran it into a manifold, ran that heat into a manifold, and have that crap run through the floor with a little 12-volt pump that runs off of solar. It's just about using the material that we have better. Like, just because everybody else uses the material a particular way does not mean that we have to. Like, that's the whole creative process. You know, it's just like building Legos. You didn't build the same thing every time. You built your own stuff. That's why Legos were awesome.
There was a guy. There was someone recently. They built their own submarine, and
exactly.
They wanted to go to see. Is it the Titanic? And the submarine imploded. They all died.
Oh yeah.
Well, when you do things dumb and don't prepare for, I mean, because what is true failure? True failure would be dying. Like, that would be the maximum of failure. However, you know what we have 6 of right here? We have 6 men, including myself, that didn't build a submarine, that didn't do these things, and they got down pretty far. So if we take their experience and replicate it and amplify it, then we can get there. And it takes a couple of people to die on a plane before we figure out that safety measures are necessary.
Hey, Guardian.
You first.
Guardian.
Hello?
Hey, Guardian.
Yeah.
Guardian.
I will. They don't call me Nubs because I'm not willing to do it.
All right. Half lives matter.
Yeah, Madam Curious. Guardian prepping, how you doing? He's in there somewhere.
He's making a quick cup of tea.
Well,
yeah, probably.
I was talking earlier about security and the
South African way, right?
Subject of South African farms came up. So we're talking about isolated communities or isolated properties and the threats that can come from external forces. getting attacked and overrun by anyone who wants your resources and in some sort of long-term SHTF sort of scenario. And South African scenario came up. So I would say if you're in that sort of position, then a community of self-reliant people in nearby proximity would be good, because you've got the luxury of a sort of mutual support from other farms and stuff, and you can all chip in and supply some sort of quick reaction force if the other neighbor or if you are under sort of attack. Safety in numbers and this sort of stuff, and you could also share resources and skills.
Yeah.
So
See, I think that's. Go ahead.
Go for it. No, please.
I
go
think
for it.
skills.
Say it again, Guardian.
Go ahead, bro.
I think skills and resources, like things that we can produce. If there's any currency that is going to be the future currency in a shutdown situation, it's what you can do or what you have. What you have can be taken. What you can do, it can't be taken.
Yeah.
Skills are the ultimate bartering currency.
Yes. And if you have many skills and are able to think outside of the box, because people don't care how it gets done. They care about when it gets done.
They just need it done.
Exactly. What the end result is going to be. Honestly, I shut down my business as a LLC and everything, and that's all I do business on is I barter. I exclusively barter and it's gifts. And when I say barter, I mean like they may have something that I would be interested in, and they just simply give it to me because there's no tax associated with gifts.
Right.
Well, that's part of the reason why they were trying to move away, why they got rid of the physical currencies. They're trying to move to this digital currency, but they don't want us trading with precious metals because they can't track it, just like they can't track the cash either.
Yep.
Yeah. There is a gift tax in UK, but
yeah.
So Guardian,
there's gift tax here too, but it depends on the value of the gift.
Yeah, right. So, Guardian, what was you was going to chip in earlier?
Yeah, thanks for having me up on the panel, Shadow. I really appreciate it. And it's always great to see new people. Hi, by the way, Nubs. We haven't been on panel before together, so it's really cool to have you here with us. Welcome. And I think for myself, it's definitely a topic that I'll just cover in like 2 minutes. I'll try and be as brief with it as possible and as concise as possible, because it is a very deep dive topic. However, the reason why I usually don't bring it up that much, particularly regarding the farm assaults and attacks in South Africa, is that it has become an extremely hot topic regarding like South Africa as a cultural thing as well. And it also raises some of the pains that our country's experienced, like if you look back in the last several decades. So because it does that and almost paints South Africa in a negative light, I'm extraordinarily cautious when I touch the topic as well, even though it is an extremely important prepping topic, because for the most part, it is genuinely like what people would face when it comes to long-term SHTF, where people come and want to raid your supplies. So there's a lot of things to be learned from the situation, but there's also a lot of grief that comes with it, because there's a lot of people in the country that have experienced the deeper that you go down the rabbit hole of actual farm attacks in South Africa, like the absolute like darker it goes. And that's why specifically I try to be cautious on it, but I'll sum it up quickly in 2 main points that a person can really take from it. 2 things that I could really, that anybody listening could definitely like learn from as well regarding the attacks. So firstly,
hey Bob.
How about good to be with us?
Bob.
So just to go quickly, the first thing, because I also want to hear from Bob, it's always good to have him on panel with us as well. So the first thing about the attacks is that they were, in my honest opinion, politically charged. And fortunately, the political parties that were, in my honest opinion, more behind that, and I'm very cautious to mention all of this as well in the way that I am, the political parties that were behind it, because it in my opinion, it was politically motivated, have been quelled, and their voices have been a lot more quiet of late. So that's a really fortunate thing that's happened. If you look at things politically, our country's government right now is actually merging all sorts of ideas together, which is obviously amazing for us because we've been underneath an almost socialist society while pushing towards that. So the fact that we've got to push back against that and a much more democratic point of view across South Africa, really good for people to vote and for people to have freedom of speech. But when it comes to farm attacks, look, I'll tell you guys this, and it comes to any sort of invasion that you experience. Your life and the people that you care about's life is in jeopardy. So whatever it takes, just remember that whatever it takes, those 3 words, that's all I'm saying. If they're coming for your life, you have equal grounds to do the same thing. I'm not going to go deeper than that, but I'm just going to say whatever it takes, I promise. That's all I'll say about the whole topic. But thank you for raising it, and it is a very relevant one. And if you guys want to, in your own time, research farm attacks in South Africa, it's a real thing. It really is quite horrendous, some of them. And the further down you go down that rabbit hole, the more...
Lauren Southern did an excellent documentary on that, like 6 years ago, like really in depth. That was when I learned about all that.
Well done on taking the time to actually care about another place like that and actually do the research in that way. And she definitely covers a lot of valuable information. And there was there's a lot about that. But thank you very much for caring about our country enough to do that, Dior. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question? Not in regards to that specific topic by any means, but as a result of that topic, have you guys ever looked into there again, back to that Trompy pump, because that would eliminate the need to go out more often to acquire resources for something that you could have on site? That's the first part of the question. And second, have you looked into aquaponics and vertical gardening in the sense of you can grow 90 plants in the same space that you can grow 1 plant?
So it's brilliant that you raise those points. I will say realistically that because what we've seen is when there has been uprising even within the last several years in the country, it became very difficult. If it got worse than what it was, there would have been raids on homes and urban areas, and pretty much that's when things get very, very difficult. But it's a brilliant point to make. I think that microgreens are amazing. You're raising points that are very good for self-reliance as well. And at the moment, even in the worst case scenarios, the community that we've built around here, which has been very fundamental to any sort of long-term SHTF type scenario, is brilliant. Not just and when I say community, I mean everybody in the community from all backgrounds and stuff as well. I always preach this when it comes to people just being kind to others, and just make sure that there's good lines between you and everybody in the community. Don't ever discard somebody because they may be impoverished or anything like that, or they may be in an unfortunate situation, because realistically those people have a lot to teach you as well, and they absolutely are the same as all of us. We're all human beings at the end of the day, so we have to love one another no matter who you are, where your background's from, and I will always preach that. So just community, and then absolutely microgreens is spot on, brother. And aquaponics, actually follow an Australian called Jandera, who does a lot of aquaponics on her side as well. She's brilliant regarding it. I haven't practiced myself, but I am currently building a very well-engaged food forest with over 40 different species of variety in an urban food forest setting. So I am very much interested in permaculture. And even I got 6 money trees today, which are the aquitus or something like that. They're basically nut trees, but they're pretty compact and they're great self-reliance. Something aquitus, but I've been speaking too much. Sorry, there's much more voices on the panel to be heard.
No, you speak as much as you want, brother.
I don't mean to impose, but I would definitely say if you're in an urban setting, especially if you're in an urban setting, the aquaponics, because you can utilize the Trompy pump with your aquaponics, so you already have the water source high. Then you can implement that liquid, the water itself, into a system where you can literally create multiple sources of revenue per se from one basic change. You know, like you can create the power for the community if that SHT whatever situation happens. You get what I'm saying? Like and not just microgreens, but I'm talking full out agriculture, because you're able to grow vertically. And as long as you have some form of cover, which I would say a dome type structure or a long dome would be your best bet for the bang, if that makes sense, to keep things contained.
I will legitimately look into it more in the next coming months as well. And when I say that, I don't say it lightly. I think a lot of people say things very lightly, but aren't genuine when it comes to it. I'll actually be sharing the progression with Preparedness Veteran, who's quite a close friend of mine in terms of like actual just regular chatting and stuff too. So he'll be there as a person to make sure that I'm not just speaking about it, but I'm actually doing something about it, because aquaponics is something that could be very useful, not only for myself, and for our like little family, but I think that if I do master the skill of it, it would absolutely be able to help my community if things go, pear-shaped. So 100%, I appreciate it.
I just put my email so we're not buggering up the channel, and I just put my email in the back channel. If anybody wants to get in touch with me, I went to school for aquaponics and landscaping, and I do construction, and I have a vast knowledge of how to do these things. Not to mention, I grew up in the hood, so I know how to build things so people don't mess with it. And I would really not normally use the word mess.
Hey, Nubs, what part of the country are you from? East, west, north, or south?
I'm on all of the country. I'm originally from.
Where are you?
I'm originally from Illinois. I'm currently on Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Not close enough to pop over.
Oh yeah, I am. Here's how I normally do things. This is exactly how I do things. So let's say you need a cedar fence built. Obviously you've gone out, you've got bids, whatever. You take care of my gas for me to get there and back, and my accommodations, and I'll build that fence at no charge. The only thing I'm after is some form of equity in exchange. Gotcha. I want to see how much you appreciate my work, because I'm not bidding the work. There's no taxes associated with these things. It's a gift from you to me, because we're extended friends and family. Because if I come to you and I'm sitting there at your table, we're breaking salt. Now we've created community. So I'm actively doing these things in person on the ground. And because freedoms, rights, spiritual faith, all of these things are important when you're talking about self-sufficiency.
Gotcha.
So if any guys...
I will be emailing, reaching out to you. I actually do have a lot of questions, specifically if you have that amount of knowledge as well. I'd really respect that. And I'd make sure that any time of yours as well, that I do try and be as much of a sponge as I possibly can.
Man. If we're exchanging emails and talking as men, that's just having conversation. If you come out of it with something, pick me something on the backside of your endeavors, not your information. Information's free.
I respect that. Thank you. I'm somebody who believes in generosity as well, though. So it's just, even if I can do something in kind as well, I believe that that's something that we should all try and do. Scratch.
Bye.
Yeah. Cheers, man. Have a good one.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I can definitely appreciate that.
So, Bob, how you been? What's been happening on your end of the world?
Yeah.
Lumpia.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Good. Thanks for asking. Wife's in the kitchen cooking a bunch of lumpia for her church group, and she brought me out a little plate full of them. Like, oh, I make you guys drool.
Yeah, don't know.
You guys ever tried lumpia? This stuff is delicious. Make you guys drool.
What's the texture?
You already make CR hungry again.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So you're gonna make CR hungry. It kind of looks like a spring roll.
Oh no, you don't want to make CR hungry.
Yeah, it's an egg roll to me.
Like that, yeah. Yeah,
Is it
CR is
pork?
still on. CR is still on strike too, so you better watch your ass, CR. You might be fired again.
Bob,
Yeah.
before my mouth starts drooling, let me ask you this: is there any pork in that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
Yep, my mouth
Yeah.
is not drooling in any capacity. Maybe salivating because of something else, but we won't get
It's like
into
a
that.
sausage roll.
Sort of
That's
like
it. I'm gonna go throw my steak on a grill now, even though it's only 3:00 in the afternoon.
There
Looks
we
like Greg's,
go.
that.
looks like a Greg's sausage roll, proper.
It's delicious. So
I make cheesesteak egg rolls.
Filipino recipe, garlic and ground meat and whatever else. I know
Nice.
Can be made with chicken.
it could be. Chicken.
What?
Now we're
Okay.
talking. Now I'm starting to salivate a little bit.
Or cat.
Maybe. I mean, depends on what they were eating.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. No, I won't eat cat. I refuse.
Oh, come
wouldn't.
on.
I would if somebody.
See, you
somebody
guys
knows how to
eliminated
make
my
it, I
ability.
would.
You guys eliminated my ability to swear, so half of my jokes can't be funny.
I think most of us can
Just
figure out what
substitute
you
a
like
bleep
to say.
in.
I don't think Bob's wife would appreciate my jokes by any means, and she could probably hear, so I'll refrain.
No, he's got headphones on. She can't hear.
I got
Oh,
headphones
perfect.
on.
Well, in that case, of course I'm going to eat the pussy. Come on now.
Come on, man. Don't spoil the chat, man.
See, I had the green light, and I can't do it anymore. I can't tell jokes. My apologies, chat.
I would. I'd eat cat if somebody who knows how to prepare it. I would. Yeah.
I was just reading this book the other day, and it was accounts of people during the First World War from England, and the way people were volunteering to go across the trenches and stuff like this. One of the munitions workers, they worked 12-hour days. They'll get up in the morning, early in the morning, finishing late at night, and they didn't have the opportunity to go regular shopping. But the time they did go the time they did get the opportunity to go shopping, this girl said, and these are all proper life accounts, she went to the butcher's and she saw this bit of meat hanging on the butcher's hook. She said, "Is that cat? It looks like a cat to me." And the butcher said, "Yes." So we're talking about World War One England, and things got to the point of desperation where proper butchers were having, or some of them, it's not widespread knowledge that some of the butchers were using cats to sell as meat. So nothing is off the table when it comes to SHTF.
Hey, you can order lion steaks online if you want, and that's a cat. It's just a really big cat.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All those bastards who kill lions, man.
Yeah, the people here,
this
mountain lions, they eat them here. Yeah.
This brings us back to the point of skills, and if you are self-sufficient and you want to build up the skills to be self-sufficient, then you've got to go down to
That's it.
Hunting, foraging, harvesting,
Learn how to fight. Learn how to fight as well.
Or meat processing route. So you kill the animal, you've then got to know how to clean it, gut it, skin it, etc., etc. Nothing else is going to be, it's not one-time use. You can use every part of that animal that is available. So that's
you also got to learn where to do that, because that's also an important skill. Because if you're doing that in your your shop, now you've got all those other predators coming around, and also nuisances coming around, because they're just looking for an easy meal that you just put out on the menu.
Yeah, and all these things tie into each other. You then equation onto the hygiene factor, and the safety of the product you're then feeding to yourself, your family, etc., etc. None of you want to come down with food poisoning. Identification of plants for foraging.
Yep.
All these skills build up, and to become a complete rounded sort of self-contained unit, I suppose.
So with that, I'll actually state that it's been really amazing to go into the local city after spending the last couple of months just like researching trees as much as I can. I've been finding out like a lot of the native trees and indigenous trees and that as well, and learning their types. And then when you go into the city and you see all of them like randomly spotted throughout the city and like on walkways and stuff like that, and you know what they are. Like some of the wild trees, and you know that they're fruit bearing, but you would have gone past them before and not even realized that they're like that they have edible fruit just from like random trees.
Right.
Absolutely.
I tried that in Cyprus. Walking along, I thought, oh, that's good. You know, the council or the local government or whatever, they're planting lemon trees and little orange trees along little walkways and stuff. So I said to the wife, right, we're going to grab some of them. So got some lemons, some oranges and stuff like this, and they were absolutely sour as buggery, disgusting they were. And I showed me the people we were staying with. I said, "Oh no, you can't eat those."
Do you think it's a species that they had?
Yeah, it must be. Yeah,
yes,
definitely.
That's absolutely what they do. Ornamental species in cities and whatnot, where they look the same, but they're absolutely a different type of plant. But knowing a basic understanding of the plants that are around you in your specific zone, if you actually look into foraging, learning your fungus around you, there is so much food that if a situation comes down to it and you know what plants to eat, you might not get so much meat, but you're going to be eating just fine.
Yeah, if people are going down the foraging route and they want to bolster up their plate, I mean, a good example was the bush tucker man who he started off employed in the Australian Army. He was tasked to go into various areas and document the wildlife and fauna in the area, and then plot it on the map so that each person, each sort of air crew, were on the back of their maps was what was likely to be available in that sort of area covered by that map. And so then they could, you know, if they know the area they're going into, they get the map out, look on the back, they can then see what's available. There you go, cost today, food for free. That's a good little book to have. I mean, books are all well and good. You know, if they've got color photographs, all the better. But, you know, I'd say to people out there, get a book that's relative to your area for a start off. Pretty much basics, isn't it? You know, then know how to harvest it safely, process it safely. I mean, you know, it's a completely different area almost. It's a splinter sort of topic than what we're going off of, but trees as well. Yeah,
I think it's dead on to the topic, because with those plants, when you learn what plants do what, like you guys were talking about a break in the bone or something like that, calendulum or bone stitch can be found in most gardens. Yeah, you know, like so to.
Well, you're saying about plantain earlier. That's what they used to call plantain in England. They used to call it nip bone, I think it was, or something like that. Yep. That would aid the setting of bones when you create a poultice and put it onto your affected limb and so on.
They had the knowledge, and the thing is the plants did stop growing. Our brains did.
Yeah, we're gradually losing connection with the real sort of natural world in some respects.
And the elite, the satanic elites have got the cheek to call us vulgar.
Well, they say that we speak profanely while they live a profane life.
Well, they say that they've what's the word? Evolved to be the high families, to be the best families, and they're saying that the poorer people in the world haven't evolved yet.
Well, how did they do that? Go ahead.
They're inbred.
Well, they are. We are a result of them.
We are a result of a lack of us. I will agree that, but I will not say it is them. It is because we are lacking in knowledge and understanding and wisdom that we will fall. It is. We can't blame them
because we haven't got leaders. We haven't got leadership. And the leaders,
you are the leader.
Yeah. But sadly, they've created all these laws. It's it's good what you're saying. Just to say
hang on.
But the point is, no, hang on, brother. The point is, they've created all these stupid laws, usury, taxing people on their working. I mean, this planet, we're born in the world, and we all have the right to have the resources on this planet. But we've got these people that have made a monopoly on everything, like Rockefellers. All these big.
It's one of the reasons why people want to be off grid, I think, because you get too many people sticking their noses into your business and so on.
Well, I mean, classic example, like we were talking about like the mineral rights and everything like that. Like you might own the land, but you might not necessarily have the water rights or the mineral rights. But like,
there you go. You own the brick.
There are people that at least over in like western part of the United States that had discovered gold on their gold deposits on their own land, and the second they even open their mouths about it, immediately government comes in, puts red tape in. They send some company out there, and they get the rights to mine the gold that's on your land. They get the rights to tear your land up to extract.
So here's my question then. With that being said, because that happens all the time, who is responsible for that? Right? And what I'm saying is loose lips sink ships.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The person who opened their big mouth.
Because if you go out and you say, hey, this is what I'm doing on my land, then you're giving notice. And unless a man or a woman can dispute that claim, until that is happening, a government agency can only speak to other agencies. They don't have, you look at the law and how it's written. These are all LLCs and everything. That's why I'm saying, like, I give my work away and I travel across the country to go do the good work. Because the best way to starve a nation is to stop its taxation. And how do you stop its taxation? You give what you have away freely and expect nothing in return. And let the abundance of the creator come forth. I mean, literally, that's what that book, it's probably not an exact quote, but pretty darn close to the message of all of the books. Any thoughts?
I mean, I see where you're coming with this. I really do. The one thing that is going to concern me, though, is potential, somebody trying to conflate this to communism or try to pervert this into some form of communism.
Well, communism would be all for one and one for all. And what I'm talking about is a radical inverse of that. I'm saying me for me, and if you don't want to do busyness with me, then I don't care about what goes, like I'm here for the common good. And I am the common, like I am the common. When it comes to trade, you've got to bring equity and you move in equity. And I would say that I understand where you're getting with communism. I would say just put it into a trust and operate in trust. And that's universal across all of the different countries represented, is we can all operate in trust. It's a lot more work.
Yeah, there's so much oversight and regulation. I was just looking at. I wasn't aware about the wells and boreholes earlier, so I just had a quick look in Google. And you can in England, UK, you have to. You can drill your own borehole and stuff. But you got to get a survey done, and after that, it costs quite a bit of money. You've got to then register your borehole with the Environment Agency.
Well,
and this is what we're getting, you see, and it was only earlier this year. Anybody, no matter where they are, what scale they're doing, whether it be a guy with 2 chickens or a guy with a shed doing a commercial chicken farming, You have to register your chickens with the government. No matter how many chickens you've got, they've got to be registered.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. What is that? Because they're speaking a language that, because the word register means to give ownership to, or something to that effect.
I mean,
so effectively, what you're doing is you're giving the queen or the king, as the case may be, all the rights to everything that is you, and you really don't own anything.
You're talking about sophistry there, Nubs, aren't you?
I wouldn't say I would say it's a basic understanding that if it's yours, and who is it that without contract, if you haven't contracted and you haven't given your authority to do so, then anything else would be false contract and no contract at all.
Null and void.
The registration,
exactly.
The registration of chickens and stuff like that in England is based on responsibility when things go wrong. You see, so it's the way it's the reason for the registration for chickens is that if there's an outbreak of bird flu, for instance, they can pinpoint it down to a certain area and reduce the spread if everyone's chickens are registered. This is the thing. And of course,
sounds like pre-crime to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, people can argue either way, but the thing is that this is what people who are wanting to adopt a more self-sufficient, self-reliant way of life are trying to get away from. You see, they're trying to get away from the eyes, the control, the registration, all this sort of thing. The question is, what is the motive? Is the motive to do it as a form of lifestyle, or is the motive going to be as a means of contingency in case of a disaster or some sort of SHTF, scenario?
I think it's more of a means of control, because if you don't register your chickens and they find out about it, they're going to arrest you. So no matter what you do, they still have the right to come take your chickens.
Yeah, but you won't get arrested because it'll be there's two forms of crime in Britain. So one's a criminal. I can't remember the name of the other one, but yeah, you get taken to court ultimately. I mean, we have to have a license for a TV.
A license for a TV? Do you guys not have the common law over there?
Yeah, TV license costs £163 a year.
What?
So
we're getting mugged off.
Yeah, we had TV license.
If this is the thing, if you have a black and white TV, no one's got a black and white TV these days. It's slightly reduced.
It's slightly reduced. That's awesome. Well, what if you just put the black and white feature on when you get the testing done?
You see, your TV is capable of receiving color.
Well, but it says it's a black and white TV. At that point in time, it was a black and white TV. Was being the key word.
There's various people have tried to scoot the system and stuff like that. Many people don't pay it, but ultimately, someone will end up catching up with you, and you'll get put into a court and all this sort of stuff. But yeah.
It's control.
I think I'd probably be in prison for the rest of my life if I even stepped foot on England.
This all. I'm not going to go into the rules and regulations of why we've got a TV license, but yeah, people can look into it. It's pretty ridiculous in my eyes.
Oh, is this all right? This TV license, real quick, you're talking about? Is this just to own the TV set, or to be able to watch cable or
you've got any? Yeah, if you've got any means of watching or listening or recording live programs, then you need a license.
Okay.
It could be a video cassette recorder. It could be TV. It could be just a standard radio receiver. If you've got the capability to receive, or if you might even have a you don't even have to have any of those. You might just have a computer with an online BBC account. So all revolves around the BBC, you see.
Yeah.
Then you need to be like
broadcasting. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
So I mean, yeah. So that's just one example of many sorts of regulations and restrictions imposed on people, and I think that's why people tend to want to break away from the system. Many people want to break away from the system entirely and go to places like Alaska and just completely live out in the middle of nowhere. Some people want to break away on the fringes of society, but be as self-reliant as possible. But, like we said earlier, it's at some point in time, without any sort of lapse kicking in, you want to be able to have access to, a hospital within 30 minutes away, medical treatment, dental treatment, a community where you can interact with, which is all, all good for the mind, body and soul, so to speak. So for me, I would rather at this point in time I haven't got the skill sets to be, from butcher all the way through to doctor. It's unfeasible for a small family or a small unit.
Sorry, I'm still wrapping my mind around that whole TV license thing.
All right,
couple things. I'm sorry, I know you're still trying to move on, but I'm no.
It's quite entertaining if you watch some videos of people.
I'm just trying to figure out. So, all right, let's just say I wanted to buy a TV and I wanted a DVD player, or I wanted to put a PlayStation game console on there. I'm still required to get a stupid license for the TV, huh?
Yeah, of course, definitely. And same applies here locally. It's the same thing. As long as you do it. Yeah, right. But the thing is, realistically, very few people have TVs. So they kind of if you look at for the most part, that's what you find on regular TVs, specifically locally here in South Africa. Nobody watches TV anymore. If people do watch anything, it's always through Netflix on their computers or on their phones, and then they'll watch YouTube and whatever. But these days, I don't really find anything regular entertainment value that engaging, unless it's crime interrogations and body cam footage and those type of things. That's what I watch, because I find that you can actually learn something from that. But besides for that, maybe a couple of documentaries, but most of what's on TV these days, and even the movies, are absolutely terrible. Movies have become so bad.
To answer Diggs Outdoors question there, that's that 160 odd pounds. That's per year. And Daryl's got he's got a reminder there. Is it?
Are you kidding me?
I'll tell you how ridiculous. I'll tell you how ridiculous this is, right? Back in the 70s, from late 60s to 70s to early 80s, they used to have these TV detector vans going round, right? Then it was just like a van which went round with some sort of strange little receiver aerial on top. And
they were advertising like an antenna.
Yeah, and they were saying to people, get your TV license, because the TV detector van will know you've got a TV, and they'll get you. In reality, it was an empty.
We have those here
van
as well.
It was an empty van with no equipment in it whatsoever. It was a
pure scare anyway, because there's so many other TVs around the place.
Yeah, it's just. But that, like I say, that is the sort of thing that people want to escape and break away from.
Talking about pre-crime, sorry, PV. Talking about pre-crime, why don't we, as the people, go and do something about these nut jobs that are in control of the nuclear bombs?
Yeah.
We the people have got much more power, but we've got no leadership. We've got no one with any.
The ultimate decision for launching nuclear weapons comes down to one person in America. That's the president.
Yep. God help us.
Yeah, sole autonomy, decision on that.
Hang on, real quick. I'll go back to the whole nuclear topic. But hey, what about Radio Caroline over there?
Yeah, Radio Caroline, Laser 558, the pirate radio stations just off the international border, coastal border off the coast of England, back in the 60s, 70s, was a pirate radio station. They were just pumping out, what they liked, basically. They've now gone, and they've gone basically. Well, I think people a lot nowadays they look at things available online, so
good boy.
You can get what you want online. The TV license pertains mainly to watching live TV. Live TV means you're watching something being transmitted at that moment in time. Whether it's not actually live on the ground, sort of thing. But yeah, it's.
So if I didn't have a TV receiver of any kind, I'd still be required to have a stupid license.
No. You can voluntarily ask for a representative from the Office of Communication to come round, and they'll do an assessment on your house and determine, okay, yes, you haven't got a TV license, a TV, you don't need one. Or you just don't pay it, and then when the letters come through the door, you explain why. That's basically it.
That's really how it works.
But they haven't got the legal right to get onto your property or enter your property. So it's a real farce, and it's quite entertaining. If anyone wants to look into this out there, just Google TV license confrontation or whatever online, and it'll be a multitude of entertaining confrontations that are involved. I'm sure Guardian gets the same sort of thing. He knows what I'm about. Yeah,
that's when people know they're right.
Yeah.
You mentioned common law earlier on, which is really good. Common law, the Magna Carta. Is that what you was talking about, Noobs?
I'm just talking about common law. I mean, that's where you guys derive your common law is the Magna Carta. But
yes,
the Declaration of Independence was derived from the Magna Carta to an extent.
That's true.
Rome controls London, and Rome controls America. You got the Jesuits. You got the Jesuits in Georgetown University. Now they educate your president, and over here our prime ministers go off to see Rupert Murdoch on his private little island, and these guys, it's all scripted. Government, these people just get a script. Even when they go and do their little meetings in their places, they all got a little script that they read out. All these MPs have got a little script that they follow. Of course, it's all to do with control, and us, we're allowing them to do it. I think we're much better off setting up our own communities, if possible, and apart from the system, setting up an alternative way of life.
Society, right? Is that what you're describing?
Sounds like common law to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, these people are breaking God's law every day. Every day they are breaking God's law. Usury is illegal. I mean, you can't even collect rainwater in some places. You can't.
Oh yeah, that's the same over here too. In some places,
it's absolutely ridiculous. It's it's us, the people. We're allowing them to do it.
Well, let me ask you this: if I were to be in a place that, say, did not allow me to collect rainwater.
Well, if you just stick your mouth up open and say, well, I was thirsty, needed a drink.
Right. But let's say that the government said that I could not do it. And let's say I happened to accidentally let some buckets out.
Yeah, I mean, this sort of thing it's an unpoliceable thing. I've not encountered that in UK.
It's about control.
In most areas of UK, you actually get paid. Your water bill is less if you collect rainwater. If you have water butts in your garden, for instance, you get a percentage off of your water bill, for instance.
But even that is a form of control because it's an enticement to do something. And what I'm saying is, like, if we're able to do it and it's quote unquote unlawful and it doesn't cause any loss, injury, or harm, let a man speak against me. Like, that's how the court works. Is there a man or a woman here, at least here in the Americas? Is there a man? And it only works that way because you assert yourself to that standard. It's about the work that we do on the ground for us and when I say us, I mean like as the individual, because the more you know yourself, the more you know that there's not a single man on this world that can make a claim if I don't cause loss, injury, or harm.
So there's a lot of corruption that exists, obviously, in all sorts of levels of society, right? And if you take a look in more recent times, just kind of putting a story to with what you're saying as well. If you look at the Epstein case, and the Diddy list of the Diddy, everybody with Diddy's parties, there are so many celebrities and people that are engaged and involved in that. And I realistically don't know if society will ever be like allowed to know exactly who all those people were, and because they're such high-powered individuals that they basically like have the ability to just silence anybody that brings anything up, it seems. So it will be interesting to see if justice is ever, done.
Yeah,
and
never, not with that lot. Can I just add something there, Guardian?
Of course, yeah.
We talk about the celebrities that were at these parties, but there was actually a lot of very, very rich family members also that are not celebrities, but they're just very rich people going to these parties too. They weren't all necessary, because it was actually an international thing. It's an international child trafficking thing where, they're getting people. Yes, they can pimp out musicians, they can pimp out actresses, actors, because some of these actresses and actors, when they're not working in Hollywood, they've got nothing to do. They've got no money. So some of them become prostitutes, male escorts even. And sometimes they start earning more money than they do in Hollywood. So these parties, they weren't just celebrities. You had politicians, you had CEOs from very big companies, you had rich Arab children there. When I say children, I mean their offspring, right? They're not necessarily children, but sons of a rich sheikh. People from all around the world. This is actually a massive thing. What we're seeing with Diddy and Epstein is just the tip of the iceberg. There's I don't remember. I don't know if you remember this program, PV, when we were a few years younger, called Fantasy Island.
Yeah, the plane, boss, the plane.
The plane. They got these films on TV. They got these kind of series where they got these fantasy islands.
Yeah. Anyway,
back to the point.
Self-sufficiency. Let's drag ourselves back into the fold here.
Yeah, but I think, like someone said, Diggs Outdoors said earlier, even if you got gardens off grid and you're doing stuff away from people, the government is still going to be watching.
In some way, shape, or form, there is still some oversight somewhere along the line, whether it's council taxes or whatever. But I think the goal of many people would be to try and detach themselves from some form of control as much as possible, and try and replicate everyday lifestyle, but in a more detached way. And that sort of mentality, I don't think it's going to work 100%. Some people are going to have to give up, modern day luxuries in order to achieve a self-sufficiency lifestyle, because it's going to be a tough way. And if you go around the world and stuff like this, you will see how various people live, and it's a simpler lifestyle, it's a harder lifestyle, and in many respects, you look at people from around the world adopting their own little small holdings, farms, crofts, and so on. There's quite a lot of ingenuity that goes on as well. And you could take one small farm in the Far East, or one small farm in the Amazon, and there'll be similarities and differences in ingenuity, but I think they're all working towards the same sort of mentality and trying to keep the ball rolling, if you see what I mean. Yeah. But
you can be like, don't play the game, don't buy Mars bars, don't buy Walker's crisps, don't get Coca-Cola, do your own stuff. And we've got cooker, we've got oven at home. We can make bread. We can make our own drinks. We don't have to play the game where, some people religiously, when I was younger, I used to go to work as a builder, doing building in the morning. When you went for your tea break, you go into this newspaper shop, and it was a can of drink, a Mars bar, a newspaper. I stopped doing that many, many years ago, but you could quite easily spend a lot of your money from your wages just by buying this rubbish every day. So being separate from being more self-reliant in the sense of making your own bread, don't have to rely too much on the supermarket, try to make your own fruit and veg.
Are you guys familiar with where a lot of the convenience of the Western culture came from, as far as becoming a culture?
Yeah, in what respect?
So back in the day, you had a guy, Henry Ford and Thomas Edison, and they literally drove around the countryside selling their wares, and they were known as the vagabonds. Well, that word goes back further. That goes back to good old England. And the vagabond laws were laws against poverty, or laws against the impoverished. Yeah. Well, how do you get somebody impoverished? Give them a Mars bar, a cup of coffee, and a newspaper, and they will impoverish themselves.
Yeah, and smoking cigarettes.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, it's literally, it always, in every situation, it goes back to self-sufficiency. We're literally buying the newspaper that tells us how to behave in a society that eats Mars bars and smokes cigarettes and drinks coffee.
Yeah.
So can I quickly just add as well, there's a lot that, to break down specifically with what you're saying there. And it also ties into what we were saying earlier about the whole way that the artificial trees are in the cities, like where they put these trees that are really not producers, that are just imitating as well. I think there's a lot about society as well, and there's a lot of learning that we're still going through. As in terms of technology and in terms of on a historical timeline, we expect change to happen overnight because our lifespans are only a century, and if you consider how nature works, a century is very short. I mean, look at how old some of the trees on our planet are right now. Our lifespans are very, very short. And because of all of this, we look at the way that societies run, and there's so many things that we're doing backwards still, in my honest opinion. When it comes to the way that we should be looking at things, we're so afraid of change that we're not willing to really move forward in a proper way either. We're so stuck in some of our ways. When it comes to across the world in different societies, we all know right from wrong. We know what would benefit the common man. We know the things that we should be doing, but yet we are so hesitant and resistant to them. And we're so careful not to, bump over the bottle and spill the beans and that type of thing. We're so careful because we have to be, because we know that we've seen what happens when we're not, to others as well, about how to, that want to kind of impose or inflict change into the world. I just think fundamentally what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of benefits that we could gain through nature, through planting in public. There should be way more public parks so that there's a lot more impoverished people that don't, when there's people that are hobos and don't have any food or anything like that, instead of looking the other way, people should be planting more, vegetables, crops, fruit trees, all of that, just to try and build a better society where people don't have to suffer with the same things. And there should be, there should be just more responsibility for that type of thing as well. And I think that certain laws, I won't go into that too heavily, but certain laws are just ridiculous, that are very old fashioned in some ways as well. So it's just, what I'm saying is, as society, we could be doing so much better. And I know that the change happens very slowly, but I definitely believe that we are on a track to see amazing impacts and changes if society continues to flourish in a positive way. It's just that we have a very pessimistic perspective on everything in our daily lives, because that's what the media wants us to do. because it keeps us in fear and it keeps us locked instead of being like hopeful and creative. Like Bob, who's one of the most creative people I know, and he'll actually attest to that too.
I think that's a big aspect of a lack of self-knowledge and self-understanding. Because when you know yourself, I mean, take for instance what the Bible says. The Bible clearly says that the kingdom of heaven is found within. So if you know who you are as a human being, then you open doors that were priorly shut because you didn't open them.
Yeah, well, we're sitting here shooting the shit. I'm processing wood to use in my paint can cook stove. That's the kind of stuff that preparedness people should be doing. Do a little bit of something every day to make sure that you take care of you and yours. I don't think about government too much. If I get taxed, okay, here's your money. Stay the fuck out of my house. Here's your payoff. Now go down the street. Period. I focus in on what I can do, not everybody else. Do you understand my mentality? I cannot control the thoughts and actions of other people, but I can control my thoughts and actions of me.
Bob, I think you and I are very, very similar. The only difference is instead of paying the tax, I would say, who's making the claim, please?
I understand that, but I'm older and I realize it's like, if I'm going to protest against this and that, what good? I'm spending all this time fighting something that I can't change. So what I can do is this, like processing wood, making different things so that when, if we have a long-term power outage, we're going to eat hot food and be able to get hot water to wash.
Yep, you're eliminating the people that can't ask you. I get where you're coming. Like I don't dis-support what you're doing, and I don't, in regards to that, I kind of look at it where it's rather comical. However, you and I are definitely in different places in our lives. Couple more experiences on your end because you've had a couple more years on this place.
Yeah. Yeah, I just focus in on what I can do. If somebody else wants to do that, you go ahead and go do that. Go ahead. It's fine. It's fine.
You like it, I love it.
You take care of that. I'm going to do what I can do every day to make sure that that my family, we're going to be able to eat well, eat hot food, wash with hot water, and that's it. We've got. I've been doing this preparedness stuff for a long time, and I'm down to refining each process a little bit more. Get a couple more tools, add to this, make this a little more easier to handle, a little bit lighter weight, all that. That's where I'm at right now. I'll show you all the wood I've got. This is just my current project, guys. This is just my current project. That's all cut into 4-inch pieces, and it's hung up to dry, and it's easy to access so that when the power goes down, I can just simply walk into my garage shop here, grab a bunch of that wood, walk back out to my paint can stove, and cook dinner. You understand?
Yep.
That's how. Yeah. As far as the politics and all the other, it's like, okay, I'm aware of it, but I can't change it. And so I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing, what I can do.
I'm kind of
you are proactive, Bob.
Correct. Yeah.
If you can put a vent somehow onto that wood, just make sure that it stays dry, it will last a lot longer, of course, as well. So the way that you got that set up is brilliant, Bob.
I think he puts paraffin on it.
I got you. Yeah, I got you covered. Now I've already got wood that's already dipped in paraffin, and it's in storage in a shed. It's in bins, boxes and bins. Yeah. This wood right here, I'm not going to put paraffin wax on it. I'm going to leave it as it is and store it inside the building. Part of what I'm doing is I cut down a cherry tree that was rotten in the middle for safety. It was in my backyard. I've got it cut up and it's stacked up outside and under the gazebo. And part of what I'm doing is I'm moving that resource inside the building, because if we have a prolonged power failure, there are going to be people who are going to be looking for resources. And if it's outside, they can sneak on the property and grab an armload of wood and run off with it. But if I've got it inside the building, prepared and ready to use, that's out of their hands.
That's what I've done. Something similar. We cut a load of bushes and trees down and chopped them up into foot long pieces for the solid fuel wood burner, and I'll store them in a wheelie bin.
Yep.
Just so you guys... So it's just basically, if anything happens, you've immediately got X amount of wood there. I've got a ton of coal there. You can just burn it.
Yeah, that was my first stage, was doing that, and it's underneath the gazebo, so it's somewhat dry. And now I'm going to get all of that, as much as I can anyway, and bring it inside the building, so to prevent pilferage.
Yeah.
Have you guys? Obviously, some of you guys are homeowners, probably some of you guys are renters, but the homeowners, have you ever looked into the advantages of defensive landscaping? It sounds silly, but there's a lot of advantages to it.
Yeah, I have. I've done that. We've been in this house. We've been in this house for about 2 years now. First thing we were still moving boxes in. There was a tree out in the front yard that obscured the front door view of the house from the street. First thing, I got out a saw and some pruning shears, and I cut that thing way down to where anybody on the street can see my front door. That's part of defensive landscaping.
Yep.
And also I took all the shrubbery all the way around the house and I cut it from the ground up to where you can't hide behind it and get into my, break in or ambush my wife, when she's coming home from work. And I've already done that. Like I told you guys, I've been doing this stuff for a long time. Yeah.
Bob, I think you and I have a lot in common.
Most likely. Well, that's what brings us here. That's what brings us all here. Yeah. Brings us all here on this, this panel, is that we all have this in common, is thinking ahead is one thing, and then you must follow through and act on it. That's why I get my pension once a month, and out of my pension, I take a portion of it and buy new tools to support doing what I'm doing today. And I've been doing that for years. Yeah.
You've got to look ahead and plan ahead, because I don't know about everyone else, but I look at the mentality that I'm doing things now in case they happen today, tomorrow, and within the next week, basically. So
have you ever considered? Have you ever considered pine pitch instead of paraffin?
I don't have a resource for that, so I've got paraffin wax. I can order it on Amazon, and I've got a whole setup
at Walmart too. In the gelatin section.
I've got a hot plate, electric hot plate. I set up right here on my work table when I do the paraffin. This is my work table.
How much do you charge, or how much do you pay for the paraffin?
I don't remember, but you can buy it by a 10-pound block on Amazon.
I'll match the price with pine pitch.
But
see, this is how you make money off of your land.
Well,
right there, you find a need, and I'm not saying it's a great idea, but what I'm saying is you find a need for somebody that's like-minded, and you agree to agree.
What I also do, like just the wood right now, is one of my current project. Okay, bringing it in, getting it away from the public reach, getting it dry and ready to use. But I also take the bark off of this, because I peel the bark off all this stuff. I drop it into a blender, and then I put it into this rock tumbler with I got a nuclear powered freaking blender right there. It's massive. And that's part of it, and the other part is over here. I drop all the tree bark and the sawdust into that blender, and then I mix it with Amazon boxes, chopped up cardboard and paper, and mix it with that rock tumbler right there. Sorry to give you guys a headache. And I tumble it with used coffee grounds I get from my coffee shop for free, and I make it into fertilizer. That's fertilizer for my lawn. All cost me nothing. Yep. Yeah, I don't go on the big broad scale of complexities and conspiracies. I don't do that. This is what I can do, and that's what I participate in.
Yeah,
doing the things that I can control. Yeah.
Well, you just put your finger on another point there.
I think all the conspiracies are true. Sorry, go ahead. I was just legitimately doing the whole tinfoil hat thing 100%, and there are so many conspiracies that are true. If it's a conspiracy, give it 6 months. Like, legitimately, we're at that point, and there's so many things that are coming out about UAPs and all sorts of stuff. Sorry, go ahead, preparedness veteran. I apologize.
Well, I mean, yeah, I've looked into all this sort of stuff, and like I say, you just drive yourself crazy. And you
I was going to say, you can only keep track of so much of this.
You can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So you just end up. It's like Bob said, you just end up wasting your time, basically.
Yeah, and I think that's part of it. Is they want you to be frustrated and nervous and distracted, and gets your mind going in different directions, so you don't focus on what you.
Well, the thing is, the hook is it's interesting, and it's a mystery factor into it, and it gets everyone playing their own sort of detective, and maybe they're going to unearth some sort of magical solution that no one else has thought. But yeah. But just going back to what I was about to say was people have got to be the masters of their own sort of recycling network.
Yep.
And whatever breaks beyond repair, whatever is used and it's a byproduct of something, think for an alternate use for it, because everything is no such thing as a one-use item. So whether it be a tire is completely knackered, or you've got
tires make great roof tiles.
Yeah, everything from roof tiles to makeshift body armor, you could use those for, sort of thing.
That's
for impact, yeah.
But along
Bobby,
with let me butt in for a moment. Along with all of what I'm doing in here, recycling the Amazon boxes, on and the wood, everything.
Yeah.
If I put out fewer Amazon boxes in my trash, because people do watch what's in your trash, they do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
No one outside of my home, other than you guys here online, know what I'm doing inside my house. Do you understand? I don't tell my neighbors about what I'm doing. I don't say a damn thing to them. Nothing.
We get
when the power goes down or whatever might happen, we're going to be doing pretty good right here at my house, and none of the neighbors know what I'm doing here in my time. Nothing.
Yeah, exactly. When it comes to bin day, we get a guy come round looking in people's bins to make sure they're not putting in what they shouldn't be putting in.
Watch that shit. Watch that.
And if someone if you're found to commit the heinous crime of putting in an item into the wrong bin, you'll get a fine. You'll get a fine through the door.
Yeah, I'd definitely they'd be crucifying me as a public enemy as soon as I touch down in your country.
It's we get
heavy monitoring.
We get people, we get the council regularly. Well, I don't know how regular it is, but I know it goes on. We get the council monitoring things like Google Maps for changes in people's properties and gardens, for illegal modifications of buildings without planning permission. We get. It was only the other week I heard a story. A guy down the road, he was doing something, and the end result was a big mound of sort of earth that he excavated from his garden. couple of days later, the council came round and started questioning him as to, you know, what are you doing? You know, is it some sort of modification to your building and stuff like this? All these reasons that people, no wonder people want to break away and detach themselves and, you know, just live a quiet, peaceful life. Let me get on with it,
you
etc.,
know,
etc.
The Americas had something like that back in the 1800s. And they abolished that as a specific, they just changed the wording, but you know, like that's, to me, that sounds a lot like slavery. Without the whipping, of course, but the whipping goes to your pocketbook instead of your back.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of scrutiny that goes on. Every square inch is accounted for, and so on. And
oh boy, it's not on the planning. There was a guy near where I live in Primrose Hill, London, and he was going around the little green areas where he lived, and he was putting plants. I make my area look nice. The council came along and ripped up all those plants.
Yeah, not surprised. Not surprised.
Not on the plans, you see.
Yeah.
We've got the plans in front of us, and according to the plan, there's supposed to be one tree here.
But I mean, the basics are, you know, you can't keep everything for recycling in the current day and age, you know, quote unquote peacetime. You know, there are certain elements you are going to throw out. Otherwise, we'll be up to our eyeballs in cans, boxes, and all sorts.
Yeah.
So you know, but people can watch what they are throwing out and watch what they can reuse for alternate things, you know, and so on.
There's also different ways of transforming items into, like Bob's doing, you know, like personally, I would add worms into it to speed up the process.
I already got that covered.
Yeah, because then that's all of your paper products, anything that's not plastic, you can put into that. All your kitchen scraps, you can put into that. And then you can use that in, like, if you're looking into hydroponics or aquaponics, you can actually utilize that and top feed your plants with that, and it won't mess with it. In fact, you just put the worms into the aquaponics system and they right there.
Yeah, all my junk mail, all that turns into this right here.
Yep.
I'll show it again. This is all junk mail, Amazon boxes, coffee grounds, and I've taken, you know, when this box, I'll probably by the end of the day, I'll throw all of this out into my lawn, and it feeds the worms. I don't use any inorganic fertilizer on my grass. In fact, I'm going to replace the grass with clover. I'm going to do that in the spring. I'm priming the soil right now over the winter, and it rots down. And by God, have I got worm castings coming up all over the place.
Yep.
This spring, I've got a whole big bag of Dutch white clover, and I'm going to go throw it on the grass, replace the grass with clover, so I don't have to water it anymore. Clover, you can beat the shit out of it, and it doesn't care. You know, clover's a weed. Replace the grass with clover. I drive my neighbors nuts because I live in a residential area, and I'm that guy who's got a mulching lawnmower and not a bagging lawnmower, and they take all that tons of that compostable material and they put it in a bin and send it out.
Yeah,
I don't do that. Not much leaves this property. I find a way to process it and put it right back into the ground where it came from.
That's so smart, Bob. That's the best way. That's what permaculture is all about, right? Like, obviously, the definition for that is like permanent agriculture. So when you're able to recycle things like that, like that's the best way to just keep like that healthy. And it's also helps for soil rotation. Even if if you get soil rotation correct on your property as well, there's so much that you can do just with all the organic materials that you're not using anymore.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that I've learned very well and done, I haven't added the one part to it, but you can definitely run some hose into a recycling pile and create plenty of steam, and then utilize that steam for making all sorts of stuff. I mean, steam is a valuable resource, and if you literally just throw your coffee grounds and your clover out there, then it breaks down and you read, like that's the circle that we should be into, because then we're utilizing the plants that are on our, like we're feeding that as our furnace as opposed to paying a bill. So it's not doing anything that's not wrong.
But since I don't have to buy lawn fertilizer, that saves me a little bit of cost, and that buys me 2 or 3 more cans of beans to put away.
Yep.
And by the end of this summer, when I replace as much of the grass as I can with clover, that saves on my water bill. And I can buy 2 or 3 more cans of beans. You get it?
Yep, we get it.
But yeah, I wanted to say something to CR here. Then I'm going to set my camera up, and you guys can watch me process the wood on the bandsaw. I'm going to say something nice to CR. CR made some good comments. So at the beginning of the day, CR, you had 2 strikes against you, but I'm going to take one of them away. So.
Yeah, Bob likes to fire CR.
I like to mess with CR. You know, CR, you're fired. You're fired, CR.
That's Bob's biggest pleasure.
Oh, it is. Once a week, I get to fire somebody so I can have my delusions of grandeur once a week. I'm going to set it up so you guys can watch me process these tree branches.
Wouldn't your tree branches be fired, Bob?
Oh, he can't.
He's gone. Yeah, he's gone. I would definitely say the tree branches would be fired in that situation.
Yeah, so not everyone has to actually live on a remote farm, homestead, or any remote place like that. You can be, pretty much. You can be self-sufficient up to a certain limit in a house or an urban scenario, almost. If you do it right and you've scoped everything out and stuff like this. But it's going to be very hard, very hard. And then if anything happens, social unrest and so on, you're more vulnerable with external influences, people coming around and escalating crime and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Unless you live in a very remote area.
Yeah. Another thing, if people are foraging, especially around farms and stuff like this, they've got to watch what they are actually foraging for, because some of the hedgerows, the fields get pesticides and all sorts of other stuff sprayed on them, and they get cut down and cultivated, and then you get another crop coming in and so on. The hedgerows don't. So what you get is a accumulation of the pesticides within the hedgerows that build up. And if you're
I don't ever, as an experienced forager, I don't ever forage where I think there might be anything like that. And I had my private applicators for pesticides when I was like 15, so I know what those chemicals do to you. Like I had to go through those classes.
You get you see all the hedgerows in Britain, most of them, well, a large portion of them, they're either hawthorn or they've got a large portion of blackberries in them. And every year I cringe when I see people, foraging for blackberries and hedgerows and stuff like that, because they're picking concentrated berries full of this stuff, which hasn't been, cut down and eliminated. So location, it even goes. Same with plants as well. Some plants in the rhizomes and stuff will hold all the toxins drawn up from any contaminants in the water they're sat in, for instance, like cattails and stuff like that. So if there's any external, if anyone's living out in some sort of homestead or anything, and a disaster, for instance, kicks in and the water is contaminated with some sort of petrochemical, it may affect the plants as well into the root systems and stuff.
Speaking of cattails, in a bad situation, cattails, the tops, the heads can be made into flour, and the roots are completely edible.
Oh yeah. I think
Yeah,
just about every element of the plant is usable in some way, shape, or form.
Yep.
Well, I mean, it goes with many plants. Like we say, we a lot of people lost touch with the natural sort of side of things, and there's so many things out there where you can use most elements of every plant. That it's a massive resource available for people. It's just a diversity available to someone in their own available area, which is the question.
There's an app that, I mean, this isn't necessarily in a bad situation because obviously phones would be affected most likely. But there's an app called Plant Snap, and there's a bunch of different types of apps for it, but it's all plant identification. And as a precursor to look, and so you know what plants you're looking at, I have found that particular app worked very well for me so that I could read what the plant was and then go do other research about the nature of the plant.
Yeah.
So if you've got some time and if you're interested in that, there's definitely one that is brilliant as well. Plant Snap is lovely. I really appreciate that app because of a lot of the outdoorsy type of things and just having a large interest in local fauna and local flora really. There's the one called Picture This. I don't know if you're familiar with that as well. Also brilliant. But yeah, Plant Snap and Picture This are absolutely amazing. Just take the time to really familiarize yourself with one plant at a time. Because what a lot of people will do is they'll take like a whole bunch of different plants and they'll go through them too quickly for them to really absorb one or two of them properly. So just take like a few days on each plant and like familiarize yourself, do some research, make it like an actual task for you for like 3 or 4 days to memorize a specific plant and then move on to the next one. Obviously, it's the best way to like kind of study and that type of thing when it comes to really absorbing that information. But when using those apps, absolutely amazing apps, but just use them carefully and actually retain information. Because I've seen a lot of people where they'll go and like snap everything at once instead of just like, trying to learn as much as they can on what they have snapped before moving on to another one.
There's also another aspect to that you might want to think about if you go down this route is learning what plants look like the plant you're learning about so that you don't get them confused and learn the differences between the plants and then move on to those plants and just create the spider's web of information from one plant to another. And it'll show you what is able to interact and what doesn't interact. Like black pepper is a great plant, but if you're taking a MAOI inhibitor, it's a horrible thing. So knowing yourself, knowing your body is definitely, and before you try anything, research the heck out of it. Not medical advice.
On that note, guys, I'm going to be heading off. Just want to say good night to everybody. Good night, Shadow, PV, Doors.
Take care.
Guardian Prepping, Bob.
Shooting off shortly as well.
Everybody on the chat tonight. God bless you all. And remember to stay calm and don't let the bastards get you down. Ronnie Barker.
Stay safe, everyone.
Catch you later.
I'm also going to head out. I'll catch you guys later.
There's rats in the sinking ship. I'm just about to go as well, Shadow.
Well, no problem.
I'll stick around for a couple minutes. I am going to have to go run over to the Toys for Tot drive.
Stick around.
Yeah. No, I'm going to stick around for a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Jules. I appreciate it.
Yeah, just what Dobbs was saying just now. There's a lot of plants we get here along the rivers and canals and streams and stuff, which are some are beneficial and some are highly poisonous, and they all look the same. All look bloody same. You look at some of these pictures and so on, and some will say, "Oh, one of them's got red shading spots on the stem and stuff like this." And you go to look at it, you think, "Oh, yeah, that's got to be the one." It's got some shading spots on it, and you think, well, it's just not worth the risk. You've really got to pin it down to your sort of area, and if you don't know, get someone in who does know. It's especially true for fungus, mushrooms, and stuff like that, because you get it wrong and you'll go downhill quickly. Yeah. Some nasty stuff out there. And of course, as we all know, most of pharmaceutical medicine is derived from plants and stuff like that. And so the homeopathy, alternate medicine sort of thing is good to know, but it's a completely different story when you're trying to actually go and get the plants to aid, remedy the ailment that you're suffering with, because we're all used to modern pharmaceuticals and it's sort of super concentrated, refined stuff, which produces almost an instant result. And it's a different story when you're talking about foraging for yourself and trying to process that sort of stuff. The outcome isn't the same, and there's lots of other sort of things in those plants that you can't physically refine really without a lab. So it's very difficult. Yeah. But I mean, there's plenty of common ones out there. And like Guardian says, take it slowly. It too slow. It's not. You can take your time. You can learn, say, 5 plants a year, and get fully conversant with those 5 plants in 1 year. Then move on. 2 years. That's 10 plants done.
That's called Plant Snap, right?
I've never used that one, but yeah, Plant Snap. So it's what it was called.
Okay.
Yeah. There's always some local guy down the road who knows what things are. Let's get to know those sorts of guys. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, I am rusty about identifying plants. I know what a mulberry tree looks like. I know what mulberries look like, and like I say, identify a blackberry bramble. Well, I mean, okay, blackberry from red raspberry, I'll probably have a hard time, but like I say, kind of know what to look for as far as that's concerned. But outside of that, like, I'm not good at identifying mushrooms. I'm not good at identifying, what is what.
Yeah,
I am aware that you can make flour out of, like, I think, like, you extract the starch out of the roots of cattail.
Yeah,
and like I said, I'm aware of gosh dang, what the heck was it? Dandelions are edible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's good. I mean, I think a good starting point would be just identification of plants, and then have some sort of backup knowledge, some sort of foraging book to go with it. Because the key thing is identification, I think. It starts to get a bit harder when a lot of people say, you can make coffee out of dandelion, or you can make coffee out of.
You make tea out of it, but I don't know how
tea.
good
Sorry,
that's
tea.
gonna be.
You can make coffee out of acorns and stuff like this, but actually doing that is a different story. It's a lot harder and requires practice, fuel, and time, and as well. And likewise, making essential oils out of all this stuff, it requires specialist equipment, and a lot of it as well. The amount, I don't think people appreciate how much it takes to make a little 10 mils of essential oil. When you're talking about lavender, it takes a lot of the plant to actually gather, harvest, just so you can make a minute amount of essential oil. It's really a concentrated, precious resource. But personally, for me, I think identification is the key thing. At least know five sort of edible plants or medicinal plants that are going to be useful, and then 5 trees as well. That'd be a good starting point for people out there. You get your common ones out of the way: plantain, dandelions, clovers, your nettles, cattails. Then your berries as well. Then your trees, your pine trees, your oak trees, birch trees, rose hips, for instance, which used to be a real key resource during World War II. They actually used to pay people to collect rose hips so they can make sort of a sugar substitute, a syrup out of it. And it extends to primrose, like Daryl says there. it extends to things like honey as well. Foraging, going out to know where your beehives are and so on, for not only a bit of a sweet fix, but adding to, as an ingredient to foods, but also on the medicinal side, you can use it for, external wounds in some respects, if it comes to it. But
yeah,
spruce, as CR says there. I think the conquistadors, back when they were exploring South America, a lot of them come down with scurvy, and they were amongst pine trees, because the knowledge was they didn't know that the pine needles contained vitamin C, which could have cured them. They were sat right under the trees and so on. But yeah, and especially
pine
if
needle
someone
tea is really delicious. I've tried it.
pine needle tea. A classic example is willow bark. Contains. That's where they derive aspirin from.
Yeah.
So, I think most people, foragers, know that. But the question is, do they know how to harvest it off the tree, boil it, simmer it to make an aspirin remedy? But also, do they know the quantity that is required to do that? Do you put a large chunk of bark in? Do you put a small chunk of bark in? How many chunks and all this sort of stuff? How long do you boil it for? And all this sort of thing. That's the real key sort of specialist knowledge for sort of medical treatments and stuff. But that's I think that comes on par with when you work in the land and you're in a sort of self-reliant ethos, is that you get to know every aspect of the land you're in and all the resources around it, and what you can use, what you can't use. But it's not all rosy out there. These homesteads, self-sufficiency lifestyles, they do come with their perils. You just got to look back into history to see that the crops every year, they didn't succeed.
Yeah,
there was a lot of failures out there. There was a lot of disease out there. There was a lot of injuries out there, and people have got to sort of roll with it and have contingencies, for those events as well.
and I know somebody disagreed with what I said earlier, but I mean, seriously, I know that your body will adapt to all this manual labor, but at some point in time, you're not going to be able to keep doing that.
Yep.
I'm not trying to be a defeatist or anything like that. I'm not saying don't try. I'm not saying that. Please do not construe my words in that manner. But there's a reason why a lot of this modern conveniences that we have that we take for granted exist.
Oh yeah.
There's a reason why that, to an extent, our lives have been extended within the last century.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 55 now, and I'm at the point now where I can actually go somewhere and buy a plot of land in and start adopting a self-reliant sort of homesteading lifestyle. But I'm not going to, because how far down the line am I going to get? In 5-10 years time, I'll start to be getting a bit creaky.
Yeah.
So my mentality is, I'm looking for a sort of a location on the edge of society where I've still got access to all the the hospital, the dentist, shopping, etc., etc. That'll do me. That's
And like CR says, adaptation only goes so far.
Yeah. I mean, if you're part of a large family, and fine, it's not as bad, because if you've got
many hands,
your son and his wife, and they got kids, then that gradually, just like they used to do back, hundreds of years ago in England, what they used to do there, and
that's how
they used
to do
to
it
be
over here in the U.S. They used to pass on the family farmland, the family homestead, pass it down generation. They sometimes split, the parcel it out, and the son gets the south side of the farmstead or whatever it is, And like I said, then that's how. But then, like I said, then we ended up getting giant industrial agriculture that came in, and now I don't know what the percentages are for the rest of the world, but the way it is over here in the U.S., it's like less than 2% of the population feeds the other 98%.
Right. Yeah. When we hundreds of years ago, they were back here. There were settlements that were they were based around a river, and a river and a hill. So at the bottom of the river was the father, and his son and his daughter would have the next plot of land slightly up higher the hill, and their sons and daughters would have the next plot of land slightly up the hill. And as your parents died, you moved down the slope into the more fertile sort of land area. Yeah,
okay.
That's how I was sort of rolled. But yeah, I mean, if you got that sort of a setup, then it's not as bad because the father, or the grandfather, or whoever, the older parents amongst the family, they've got all the knowledge, and they sort of sit back and advise. And the younger elements, they start to get more hands-on and do the more labor side of it. Yeah, but
kind of the way it was supposed to have been anyway, because the old guy, the old woman, they're the wise ones. They've got the knowledge, but they just don't have the backs or the ability to do a lot of this stuff, and that's why their children are supposed to come in and take over, and then they can pass the knowledge on. The children retain the knowledge a little bit more because they're working with this stuff hands-on.
Yeah. And if it's not, if someone does sort of go down this road, if it's not sustainable, then it's not sustainable. They've got to change their sort of mindset. It'll be interesting, actually, to see. It's probably going to be beyond my lifespan, but how the transition to Mars progresses, because you've got this 24-month window of opportunity to get to Mars. And then you've got the establishment of the base, and the resupply runs until a certain point in time in which the Mars colony gets to a self-sufficiency point, and then it doesn't require
much external input.
External input resupply. Yeah. That'll be interesting to see. 26 months, right? Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that progresses, actually. But anyway, I think before it gets to that time, I'm looking forward to getting the Optimus robot with a $20,000 Optimus robot unit. Yeah, that'll be exciting times. But right, I've got to shoot off. Shadow, Joss.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for stopping by.
Hang on, wait. Oh, come on, wait till Bob gets his headset on. I want to see if he'll fire me real quick.
All right.
Bob, Jan? Bob?
Plugging yourself in.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm here. I'm sad. Like I say, I've got a sad news. I was unable to successfully acquire a Barbie Dream Mansion today.
You son of a bitch.
I was trying real hard, man, but the Walmart that I went to, I guess they didn't have any in stock. And like I said, I'd seen them in stock at a couple other Walmarts, but I wasn't able to get one. And I wasn't going to go drive to another Walmart.
All right.
I was trying to buy some toys for the Toys for Tots drive.
This is pretty freaking serious. All right. Okay. So you're fired, and we're gonna step it up another notch. You see this? This is my freaking Christmas list. All right, right there. Your name is off. So you get it twice today. You're off my Christmas list, and you're fired.
I've got to shoot off by myself. But if you looked at Temu, get the Chinese version.
A Barbie Christmas house? What the?
No, Barbie Dream Mansion.
Right. Catch you later.
All right. It's for the Toys for Tot
Oh, okay, I get it.
That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to get that for Toys for Tots, but I ended up getting a couple of girly Lego sets and a couple of boy Lego sets, and like I said, I think I got a Nerf gun blaster and a Barbie doll. So like I said, I'm gonna be getting those over to the toy drive here in a few minutes.
Good for you. Good for you. There's a lot of kids out there who need that stuff, man.
I wanted to do that last year, but I couldn't figure out where the Toys for Tots were, because like where I moved from, I was within stone's throw for 5 different military installations. And all right, just for all y'all that ain't in the US, Toys for Tots, it's a Marine Corps run toy drive.
Yeah.
And they set up their donation bins, and like I said, at the military bases, but in areas where there's a huge concentration of military families. But unfortunately, where I moved to, there is not a whole lot of military activity over here, which might be a good thing, I guess. But
yeah. Growing up, my generation, they would put a couple Marines out in front of a lot of supermarkets. We didn't have Walmart back then, but they'd put a couple Marines with a bin so that the housewives could go and pick up their groceries and pick up a toy in the supermarket and then hand it to the Marines as they came out. It worked out, was pretty successful.
Yeah. So my apologies publicly to any possible future girl that I'm not going to be meeting. You're not getting your Barbie Dream Mansion this Christmas. I apologize.
You heartless bastard.
I know. Terrible.
Yeah, in fact, that was the first time I ever saw a Marine in their dress blues. Was little kid, still in my hand, in my mom's hand, going into the supermarket, and I looked at the way these guys are dressed. I was little, man, and my mom says those are the Marines. Those are they Army? No. Like that, but they're Marines. Yeah. Are they soldiers? No, they're Marines. Yeah, they're part of the Navy, is what they are.
Yeah. Yeah, they're the amphibious soldiers.
Right. Yeah, growing up, I didn't really know much difference.
No, yeah. Well, when I was a kid, I didn't know the difference. Hell, I didn't know much difference. Even as a teenager, I still don't quite fully grasp the difference. I mean,
yeah.
Like I said, one's amphibious, the other one's not. One is, they're both scary. They're both deadly. You don't ever underestimate one, but one has got the slogan, no better enemy and no worse friend. Sorry, I wasn't no better friend, no worse enemy. That's sorry, I had that all backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's true right there. Yeah. Well, like you watch the movie Few Good Men. There was a line, something along the lines, whenever we need a ride, you Navy guys give us a ride, or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I thank God for computers and be able to speak to people. And you know who Mad Shad is?
I have heard the name, but I can't say I know who that is.
Oh, he's got a Lackluster Friday. He was a Marine. He was a grunt in the infantry. Cool guy. He doesn't judge the other services and all that. The really well-adjusted guy. You only run into an asshole Marine once in a while.
Yeah.
But he said, I have no problem with the Air Force guys. Been on many Air Force bases, and you guys are real professional. And he said, I always had a great sense of comfort when there's a fixed wing over top of me, pancaking around. I went, good enough, man.
Yeah. Oh, like I said, I've had good interactions with the other services.
Me too.
When I was back in Connecticut, I want to say we had like maybe 10 Army guys that were stationed there full time. I still don't fully know what all of them did. I know one of them worked for the canine units, and I think the other one was doing like health inspection related stuff. But the rest of them, I had no idea what the hell they did. But there was this one particular Army guy that stayed in our Navy barracks. He was the only Army guy there. And like I said, we all like I said, we weren't being disrespectful and everything. Like I said, it was all in good fun and everything. But we referred to him kind of affectionately as, hey, Army guy, what's up, man? Like I don't even remember his name. I just remember calling him Army guy. I was like, hey, what's up, Army guy? Like I said, we were real cool, just usual.
Yeah.
And like I said, maybe not. I don't think it really was with him. I don't think I really had much back and forth banter, but like I had back and forth banters with other servicemen from other branches, but it was in good fun. It wasn't to demoralize or just trash them, because as far as I'm concerned, we're all brothers in arms.
Yeah, I agree. I remember I volunteered for a TDY with the Army in the 9th Infantry Division, Fort Lewis, Washington, and there was a bunch of us Air Force. Back in those days, our Air Force uniform was completely different than the Army. They wore woodland BDUs, and we wore these
Tiger
green. No, ours were green. They were just plain green uniforms left over from Vietnam, basically. Is what they were, And some of the Army guys were curious, there'd be 3 or 4 of us airmen walk by and go, "What are you guys doing here?"
Yeah.
Wasn't insulting or anything.
Yeah.
What are you doing here? Oh, we're part of that group over there, where the Army was teaching groups of airmen to set up barbed wire defenses positions, teaching us how to build a base camp, on and on and on and on. And so that because the Air Force is still a ground-based force, if we get deployed somewhere, you got to have a few guys sprinkled in there who can open up a
temporary airfield
and know how to assemble it. Right. Instead of set up tents and shit like that. Yeah. That's what I volunteered for. It was a good assignment. I don't have any complaints.
Yeah, I just remember you telling us the story about how all the Army guys were issued wooden batons, but they issued you and the other guy M16.
Yeah, M16.
Yeah, get those.
Yeah, that's true. Live ammunition and M16.
And you said,
yeah. What? Well, it's on my mobility. We had to bring your mobility folder, and in there, M16 qualified, all and on and on, and they could issue us out an M16 rifle, live ammunition. And the Army was issued out a fucking baton.
And like you said, they were asking you, wait, why you guys got M16s?
Mm-hmm.
And you said your reply was,
they trust us. Now, when the Army's out in the field, they've got M16s and all that. But if you're on the main base, the only people who have a weapon is the MPs, and they usually carried a 45. That in those days they were still using 45s. All
right. To Dig's previous comments, the Coast Guard, man, they're kind of special. Like. And I don't necessarily mean that, in a derogatory term, because it's only in time of war they are actually utilized, in a military function, because they're kind of like hybrid between, law enforcement and, military.
Yeah.
I mean, although they, with them doing interdictions with, the smugglers and all that, one could actually say that they I don't know, I guess they, in that case, they really are performing both law enforcement and military purposes, but they're also rescue too. They're no different than local.
I got a lot of respect for the coasties.
Yeah,
I do.
They get the least amount of government funding as far as the DoD budget's concerned, but they maximize the crap out of whatever they get.
In my day, the Coast Guard was part of the NTSB. They weren't even in the Department of Defense. They're part of the National
I think right now
Transportation.
Technically, I think right now they are under NTSB. I think right now technically they are. I think the only time they're really ever part of the DoD is when they declare war. Congress declares war.
Yeah. I know they used the hell of out of the Coast Guard in the Pacific Theater in World War II and all the way up to Vietnam, because they know how to handle small boats in shallow water. And I've talked to more than one guy that was in the Coast Guard in the Vietnam War. They were armed to the teeth, and they were doing riverine patrols right along with the Navy.
I was going to say that's what the Navy was doing with those, what they call them, PBRs.
They had their own boats, and
I've heard some horror stories for the Navy guys that were on the PBR boats, and it's not so much the way the military treated it. It was just some of the firefights they got into. And how the Viet Cong weaponized the locals against them. Like, it's insane to grasp. But anyhow, to one of the previous comments that Diggs Outdoor put on there, he said that forward air bases are only as good as the ground crew.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, because that's why, like the Air Force, we're all M16 qualified, because we've got to guard the airplanes and the base, but we've got our own specialty guys who do the primary. But we've got to be able to protect ourselves and the airplanes. Yeah. I mean, we're not riflemen in the infantry, but we know if they got to pass out the M16s and the ammunition, we know what we're going to do.
I mean, I remember. I don't remember how it was worded now because it's been so many years since I've been in the Navy, but I remember one of the standing orders of the watchstander was basically to guard the government assets, essentially, something along those lines. I just don't remember how it was worded. I have to pull out my recruit handbook. I still have that.
You do? I kept my stuff for a long time, but
I knew a lot of guys in basic enlisted submarine school. As soon as they left boot camp, they threw their Blue Jackets manual away and they threw away their recruit handbook. It's like, why are you throwing that stuff away? You don't think you ain't going to need that? You don't think you might not look back at that or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah. That's information for you to do your job and protect yourself. That's your information. They don't print them out just to be printing them out. They can hand them out. I kept all my stuff for many years, but I've been out of the Air Force for coming up on 40 years now. So I don't have it anymore.
Yeah, like I said, not quite as long as you, but 10 years will be coming, before I know it.
Yeah. I'm glad I enlisted. I'm glad I enlisted. I and like my own preparedness for me and my own family, I got to see what an enormous amount of logistics is like, and I learned from that. You take a bulk of this, and then you refine it down and down and down, and go over it again and again and again and again, and until you've got it set up just right for you.
And I think that's kind of what Corsair Trainers was discussing a few weeks ago on one of his live streams. Like, many people make the mistake when they get out of the military to get into preparedness. All they focus on is like, well, we got to get this one watch position covered, but they don't ever think about the logistics of, well, we got to make sure we do a regular watch rotation, and that's where, like I said, I learned, where I think about the duty sections that we did, in the Navy. I don't know if you guys call it duty sections or what you guys refer to it as.
Like that, yeah.
Watch sections. I'm not sure what you guys called it. What about
Yeah.
you, Shadow?
But
Yeah.
along with that, you know, like I've done guard duty. Along with that, the logistics involved in that. Okay,
Yeah.
you got somebody out there in your neighborhood watching this intersection or whatever, and he's gonna have to take a crap, and he's
Yep.
gonna have to drink
That's where
water,
reliefs are.
and so you know you gotta have to have that stuff with you, and you're gonna have a kitchen going,
Yep.
someone to bring you hot food or something. You know, hot food is a hell of a lot better than sea rats. You know, so that's if you got a neighborhood watch thing going on, you're gonna. I've noticed it many times that nature falls in place where the women will go in the kitchen and start cooking and feed
Oh,
the
but
men.
that's derogatory, man. You
Yeah,
can't do that.
but they just do it automatically without
I
being
know,
said.
I know,
You know,
I know.
everything during an emergency, everything falls into its natural order without a word being said. It just falls into place. You know. But yeah, oh, that's misogynistic, or no, that's just human nature. The women go in the kitchen and cook, and they guard the children, and the men go out and do what's necessary outside of the house. It just falls into place, man.
Yeah. But like I said, it's kind of where I was saying watch rotations, you know, so you can relieve the watch, the guy that's standing, you know, so he can go and get something to eat or take a crap, whatever it is you're talking about.
Yep.
You know, do the basic human things. Get some sleep.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah.
But like I said, it's been my experience with the people that underestimate the different functions of the military. You know, like I said, I know I said this before, and I will say it again. I've ran across that one guy that criticized somebody else that, you know, just got out of the army, and he's like, "Oh, that guy, he was just a supply guy." Well,
That's
like I
the most
said,
important guy.
he is one of two most important guys you want to make friends with. He is one of two most important guys that make the military go.
Yep. And the cookhouse.
Yes.
The cook. I believe we discussed this last time we got together, Steve. I asked my dad. He went all the way through World War II. I asked him who are the most important, the pilots, and he goes, "Your cooks, and your supply guys. Because if that falls apart, you've lost everything.
But I'm sure when you're
done.
a kid, it's hard to fully grasp that. But you know, when you're an adult, you know, and you're there, or when you're an adult and you think about this stuff critically, yeah.
That's why even during peacetime, when I served, we had mock-up deployments right there on our air base. Okay, you guys are now overseas, and you got to eat. And hand you a box with sea rations for the first day or so, and then here comes the kitchen people and pallets full of food. Somebody has to be able to organize all of that, stack it onto pallets, complete meals for all these people, and they bring it in on forklifts. Boom! It's just tons of food. And when you're young, you don't really see it, but as you get older, you go, somebody has to be in charge of that and organize it all and get it from point A to point B. Now that's if you don't have food, man, you're done. You're a goner,
And like I said, that's where the supply guys come in to make sure the cooks get what they need to get so they can feed everybody.
All the tools that they need, the propane, the kitchen tools, and someone to wash.
And the maintenance guys to maintain the aircraft and the air wing or maintain whatever needs to be maintained. The armors are able to fix and repair the service weapons and be able to reissue them out.
Yeah. And also one of the most important people in a cooking for the masses is the guy who does the dishes.
Oh yeah. Yep. I've done my fair share of, well, we call it full food service attendant, and look, I think the rest of the branches call it KP.
Yeah, like that. And I remember I was assigned to KP in basic training and doing pots and pans. We had a mess sergeant or the guy was a Vietnam vet. He had stripes all the way up to his shoulder, and he came in and inspected the pots and pans that we thought were clean, and he pulls them off the shelf, and he runs his hand. Okay, that's good. That one's good, and then stop. And he could feel a little bit of oil left on the stainless steel, and he go, wash that one again. And he explained it to us. Just that little bit of oil or whatever is left on there will make everyone sick, and your unit
because
is down.
It gets rancid.
That's right, and you don't even see it. And that's part of the learning process of being. That's why they put everybody in our basic training on KP duty, so that you can learn how important this is. If you don't thoroughly clean your cooking and eating utensils, you just made everyone sick. Yeah. So he was only a cook. He was only a cook in the Army. That's one of the most important motherfuckers there is.
Yeah. And then you make everybody sick. You've now just taken a whole division, and like I said, now they're no longer. What do you call it? They're no longer what? No longer deployable. No longer to be able to be put on front line to be usable, because they're now light limited duty.
Yeah,
while they're recovering, or sick in quarters. Sorry, sick in quarters.
Yeah. My dad told me when he was a young airman, he was in there during it was the Army Air Corps before it separated, but he was stationed somewhere in Oregon, and him and 3 other guys walked into town, and they ate in a restaurant, and the restaurant didn't clean the dish soap off of the dishes enough. And he said those guys, they ate and they started getting sick shortly after they left the restaurant, and they had to walk all the way back to the airbase. He said that they were 1 or 2 of the guys, they had to fucking carry them because they were shitting and puking that much, and all of them were they had to report to medical because they were out of duty. They were done. They were shitting and vomiting so much because someone didn't rinse the damn dishes. Didn't rinse all the soap off. In the restaurant. It wasn't in our mess hall.
Yeah, mess hall. I guarantee somebody's ass would have got reamed for that.
Yeah, it was a restaurant in town that they ate at. It made them all sick. Yeah, because I remember he putting the pieces of the puzzle together. I guess they did an investigation. Where did you guys eat? Because they were 4 guys that were down, and so the Army went and investigated, and they discovered that this restaurant was not thoroughly cleaning the dishes, and that's what made all those guys sick.
Yeah. I'm gonna say I never did any. All right, for lack of better words, I'm gonna call it KP because, like you said, in the Navy we called it something else. But I never did any KPing in boot camp, but I did do KPing while I was on the submarine, because all the new guys, everybody gets to do it at least once, with the exception of the officers.
Yeah, they're special.
Yeah.
They're the think tank. They're the thinking people. Yeah.
Yeah, they can't have their brains clouded with all this.
The trivial. Mixed feelings about the officers.
I have more respect for the officer corps of at least the Army and Marines, because those guys are a little bit more down to earth with their personnel, whereas the Navy, they still hold on to, like I said, a lot of the Navy traditions are inherited from the Royal Navy. Yeah, so like I said, they hold on to those traditions real hard, and like I said,
aristocracy.
Like I said, the officers eat separately from the enlisted for the most part, whereas like the Marines and Army, it's not as much. I mean, I'm sure that they probably do have their separate eating quarters, but seems like a lot of the junior officers and even some senior officers were still willing to eat with their enlisted, and I think that's how they are able to communicate. They're able to freely communicate any problems, between the chain of command. As they're all eating their lunch.
Yeah, just a second. I'll be right back.
Yep.
I'm busy
Yeah, no
working while
problem.
I'm shooting the shit.
Yep. No, like I said, with a submarine, it doesn't take very much. Like I said, we can operate on a skeleton crew, but yeah, that gets old pretty quick. Like I said, we got what they call watch rotation, and yeah, no, it is good for morale when you got officers eating with enlisted. Like I said, I've always noticed that, like I said, with the officers that are willing to interact a little bit more with the enlisted, they seem to be a little bit more humble and a little bit more down to earth.
Yeah, the guys that the officers that I respected the very most were the fighter pilots, but I didn't speak to them guys very much. When he's got his bags and he's heading to the airplane to get in the cockpit and fly that F-16, I didn't speak to him because he's got a lot on his mind.
Mm-hmm.
Leave him alone. Unless he speaks to you, just leave him alone. And oh, did you guys see that video I posted the other day about my wife had to use her handgun for the 4th time in a parking lot?
I will have to take
Yeah, watch that one.
I'll have to take a look at that.
That's the wife came home and told me about how a couple, a male and a female, saw her in the parking lot, and the male went to the driver's side of the door of her car door, and the female went to the driver's side. The male, they're both homeless junkies, and they were going to squeeze her in, and they were going to rob her, and so she took out her 9mm pistol and took it out of the Kydex sheath and held it up above the steering wheel. And the female saw that and she turned around immediately, and they both left because she was armed. And that's the 4th time in a parking lot she's had to do that. She's over 55 and she's not even 5 feet tall. Little tiny lady, and they see an easy mark. And
even if she wasn't in her 50s, I mean, she's a single woman. She's by herself.
Yeah. And they've all the drug addicts all have this delusion that Asian women have got a lot of money. Well, so they target them. They target them for robbery all the time in this area because there's a high population of Asians. There's even been cases locally where they'll see an Asian lady in a casino and they'll follow her home. And for robbery. Yeah. I've seen ring doorbell cameras where one was a single Asian lady and the other one was with her husband, and they just went to a casino to have dinner, and then they came home and they followed them home, and they were rushed them before they were able. Well, they were able to get into the front door and lock the door and stop the assault, but there was more than one of them. It's because I saw an Asian lady leaving a casino.
Yeah.
What it comes down to. So that's something you got to watch your ass for, I still stand by this, man. You've got more chances of being harmed or killed in normal street crime than any government conspiracy.
Yep. No, I am 100% on board with that assumption. Yep. Like I said, it's not to say that I won't pay attention to the other stuff, but like I said, no, you have to keep your head on a swivel with this.
You sure do. Yeah. With the tons of narcotics and amphetamines in this country, man, these people are desperate and they'll do anything. They have no limits anymore,
Yeah, no, Diggs, you're absolutely right. And like, there's some of the experts that say when you park your car, you want to turn your wheel like 90 degrees. So if you have to, I I guess it all depends on how how you're parked in the parking space. So
Yeah.
I guess suppose if you pull in and you got like a curb in front of you, then you want to turn your wheel hard right. So if somebody approaches your driver's side door, you can basically just floor it, back it out, and it's a 5,000-pound battering ram, and then turn it hard left if you're in a parking space where all you have to do is pull straight out.
Yeah, prepper for the ages. You're absolutely right. A pistol saved her ass for the 4th time. Yeah.
And like I said, everybody here is already familiar with my story.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. Yep.
Yeah, I remember that one too.
Like I said, it's I got kind of pissed off because somebody was making light about it, and it's like, are you shitting me, dude? Like,
yeah,
you don't know until you've been there.
Yeah, you don't know until
you don't know what the hell I was going through, because like it wasn't so much in the moment, it was me thinking about the what ifs afterwards. That's what killed me.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of shit about, you can check my channel how many times the junkies tried to get into the last place we lived. And
I remember the bucket. I remember the guy carrying the bucket, and I remember that one guy that was checking out your garage, and you had the curtain with the spikes hung down.
Yep. I got a lot of shit on those videos. Oh, he was just being friendly. No, he fucking wasn't.
He was casing the place, man.
Yeah, he's looking to get in. And like I've said a million times in my own situations, the garage door was right over there, and on the 2nd floor was my teenage daughter. What's that motherfucker going to do if he got his hands on my daughter? Maybe nothing. Maybe maybe not. So
I'm not going to leave it to chance.
I'm not either. Yeah, it's so strange how unaware the people are. They're not street smart at all.
Yeah.
I agree. I definitely agree.
Oh, when I get done with this wood processing, the next project I'll post up on the videos. I carry my keys on a lanyard. I know I mentioned this before.
I remember you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I carry them in my right hand when I'm walking through a parking lot. And I got to thinking, I can't hear too well anymore, and I'm getting slower with reactions. So I'm going to go here in the machine shop part of my shop, and I'm going to make a couple of metal mimic key fobs. Right.
Oh, okay.
And because I had that lady sneak up behind me in the Philippines last time, and it's like, okay, there's your clue right there, old man. You can't hear so well anymore. You're not as alert as you used to be. So, okay, I'm going to make a couple of mock-up key fobs with some keys on a lanyard. The real keys are going to go in my pocket, and I'll carry a mock-up. And if they get snatched out of my hand, now he can't break into my car or get into my house. And if I got to use it as a weapon, some metallic key fobs are going to do some fucking damage, man.
Yeah, that will definitely hurt.
Key fob would hurt, but something made out of aluminum, whack, like that. Right, there you go. Yep. And
1 inch steel ball in this one.
Perfect. And as I watch interviews with thieves that are in the jail cells, I watch their interviews, and their mentality that, like, if Shadow's carrying that through the parking lot and some other jackwagon over there surfing his phone, who's he going to attack? He's not going to go after Shadow because you got a weapon in your hand right now. He's going to go for the jackwagon over there who's surfing his phone,
Yeah, and he probably has his earphones on him too.
Totally unaware. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, I know I've said this before, but like I said, that one interview that I'd seen, it was that, you know, that guy that was incarcerated, you know, broke into houses. Like I said, he walked around in like kind of like a tracksuit, you know, wearing sweatpants, carrying a dog leash, calling for a dog that he obviously didn't have, but that was his ruse. So nobody could suspect. And he was, you know, dressed up nice and neat and everything like that, clean. He wasn't, you know, didn't look, you know,
didn't look out of place.
Nope.
Yep. I did see one guy a couple houses ago. He was walking down the street and he was black, and I lived in a white neighborhood, so he didn't blend in. And I'm not saying anything just because he was black.
I know.
But this is how he did it. He carried a leaf rake and a trash bag hanging out of his back pocket and a pair of gloves. And he was walking around the neighborhood. And I went, bing, 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 bing. This guy don't belong here. And I know what he's doing, you know. Not just because he was fucking black, because he didn't belong in that area. And then he had mock up. He was looked like he was a guy cleaning up a yard, you know. He wasn't. I don't know who he was, but I called cops suspicious character, you know. But I'm a racist.
Yeah.
You know.
I think we all are. Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny. It's funny. Like I said, the roles were reversed. You know, like I said, the roles were reversed because I've heard kind of similar arguments. It's like, you know, I remember hearing something, you know, black guy something saying, you know, yeah, you wonder why white people are suspicious of us. I mean, you got a black person moves into your neighborhood and everything. Wouldn't you be, you know, like you'd be suspicious if it was the other way around? If it was one white guy that moves into your neighborhood and it's an all black neighborhood.
Yeah, my best friend Michael, he's a black man. He lives in Tacoma, and he smokes meat for his church and stuff. He's a great chef. If you want to meet, wife and I have drove over to his house several times. He lives in a black neighborhood. We get out of the car and go pick up the food, and all his black neighbors are looking at us like, an Asian lady and a white guy, you don't belong here. And you know, like, huh? It's just normal, you know.
Yeah. Like I said, it's not right, it's not wrong, it's just human instinct.
Yeah.
Human nature. It's the whole tribalism thing, you know, like
it is. You're not part of our tribe, you don't belong here. You're going to get attention. Yeah.
Yeah. One could argue it's an old leftover self-preservation, you know.
Yeah. But you'd be amazed at how many people don't even notice that. They don't, you know, they're walking along thinking about whatever and, you know, unaware.
Oh, it's like my buddy Aid when he was down there in Snyder. He was pointing out to one of the other people that just completely, you know, like I said, that he was with, that was oblivious to what was going on. It's like, dude, did you see that guy right there? The guy that was wearing the white wife beater and the black shorts and the socks pulled up to his knees. That was Sereno's. Sereno's right there.
Uh-huh.
The other guy wasn't thinking anything about it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going back and I'm commenting on a lot of Steve's videos because he asked for, you know, help me bring my algorithm up, and so I'm doing that. You know, give him.
Oh yeah. You're talking about Corsairs, right?
Corsairs, yeah.
Yeah. I've been watching it. I just haven't been commenting. Maybe I should start leaving comments.
You should, yeah. Just that brings up the algorithm or whatever. But doing that, he was talking about flanking. And there was a situation, I think it was right at COVID. And I remember the wife and I went out for a walk, and there was really nobody around, but we were approaching on the sidewalk, and there were 3 young guys, and they were all addicts, and they were homeless addicts. And they saw us, And I tell you, I can't praise my wife enough for being street smart. She flanked, we're approaching and they're getting our attention and they're spreading out, right? And automatically that little chickie fucking went cut left. And now we've got them flanked. I'm facing them, she's on the side. Nobody had to train her on that. She just grew up street smart. So we're both armed, but they can't see it, and so I got their attention. Hey, look here, and they didn't even pay much attention to this tiny little Asian lady. They didn't consider her a threat. Nothing happened, but she did it automatically, dude. She just cut left and she flanked them.
Yeah.
So now we've got them in a crossfire if we have to,
Yeah. Now you've seen those training videos, or people are practicing, shooting a dangerous assailant up close, with a handgun. I've heard an asinine comment along the lines: if you were pulling out guns that close to somebody, there'd been way too much shit talk going on, for too long or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it's like that's not the point. The point is, like, bad things can happen, and it can happen up close, and you're sharpening your skills.
Mm-hmm.
I've done a couple of those drills on my own, but like I said, I never bothered filming a video because you know how YouTube is anymore.
Yeah, you got to be careful; they'll take your video down. But yeah, Shawnee, in gunfighting, the three of them spread out in a line, and then I made sure they were facing me, and they didn't pay any attention. If somebody splits off and is on your side, they can shoot into you this way, and you can be shot.
Crossfire.
Right. That's what they call flanking, and they're at a distinct disadvantage because you got them now. Now I can fire easily without hitting my wife. The wife can fire easily and not hit me. They do that in
their attention divided.
Yeah, they do that in the military. Get you caught in a crossfire. Now you're fucked.
Well, Shadow, I hate to do this to you, but I'm gonna have to bail because, like I said, I gotta get those toys donated to the Toys for Tots drive because I've only got
no problem.
Only.
You couldn't get that gun. You're still fucking fired, dude. No Barbie drinking.
I know. No Barbie Dream Mansion.
You son of a bitch! How dare you? Yeah, I'm gonna probably bounce out of here soon.
Yeah, I'm going to wrap things up anyway. So
sorry, we got a little off topic there, Shadow.
My wife made up a bunch of lumpia, and I'm going to go raid it before she takes it to the church. So
it's not very often I get to talk with the other military vets, including
not many of us.
Not
many of us. Yeah, not many of us. Yeah, it's not many. It's good to talk to a vet once in a while. A vet doesn't get upset if I say "you son of a bitch." They just say "fuck you."
Yeah. Of course, like I said, all like I said, we do it to each other, out of love. We're not doing it to be malicious.
Okay, Shawnee, I'll have a lumpia for you too. Thanks for having me up on your panel again, Shadow.
Yeah.
You're very welcome, Bob.
If you talk to him again, tell CR he's down from strike 2. He's only at strike 1. So
okay.
Hey, he might get lucky. He might take the other strike off. All right. So what am I going to do? Do I have strike or I'm just straight fired?
No, dude, you're just fucking fired, dude.
Oh, okay.
and off my Christmas list.
Oh, damn it.
Peace out, everybody. Talk to you later, Shawnee. Everybody
later, Shadow. Later, Bob.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Take care of yours. Take care, Bob. Okay, guys, time to wrap things up. And I will see you in the next one next week, same time, same channel, with a whole different topic. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Take care, stay safe. God bless. You're very welcome, Mark. No problem. It's always a pleasure. Thank you, Iron Firehorse. Yeah, we'll see you guys next time, next week, next Saturday. That's all for today. And I hope this